Of the four major sports in the United States, baseball has by far the largest discrepancy in team payroll. This season, the team with the highest payroll, the Dodgers, will spend $420 million on their players. Compare that to the team with the lowest payroll, the Miami Marlins, who are going to spend about $80 million. The Dodgers have 4 times the budget that the Marlins do to field the same amount of guys on the major league team. But actually, I lied to you. The Dodgers are going to spend closer to $600 million on their team this year because they are above the luxury tax. So in reality, they are spending about 7.5 times the amount that the Marlins are on their team. How is it then that small market teams like the Miami Marlins are supposed to compete with powerhouses like the Dodgers? In this video, I'm going to show you exactly how, as I rebuild the Marlins over 10 seasons. And over these 10 years, we're going to have to make smart and difficult decisions with our roster. So let's get started rebuilding the Miami Marlins. So in MLB The Show franchise here, our budget or our salaries is actually at $68 million, but I'm going to keep the $80 million number as our budget to start out here to match with real life. But that is not going to be our budget forever, because winning increases revenue. Over these 10 seasons, every time that we win more than 90 games in a year, that's an extra $5 million to my budget. And when it comes time for the playoffs, every series that we win is an additional $2 million, and if we win the World Series, that is a $1 million cherry on top. And all of this money is going to be reinvested right back into the roster to make it as good as possible, and hopefully we can have a compound interest effect in that way. And you can see our current contracts here. 2 of them really stand out. We've got free agent to be closer Pete Fairbanks, who we're definitely going to have to trade at the deadline, so that'll be our first challenging decision of the video here. And then what might be even more difficult is considering a trade for Sandy Alcantara, although he does look really good. And if I could keep him and afford him next season for 11.2, I might have him stick around. But as you can see, there is a common theme with pretty much every single other contract in here, and that is that they are very, very cheap. And most of these are extremely young players. In fact, the Marlins have the youngest team in Major League Baseball. I actually need to correct myself here. The Marlins have the 4th youngest team by average age, but what I'm getting at here is that their entire roster is pretty much full of guys on renewable contracts. So I'm going to explain in a little bit how we're going to be competitive with this heavy budget restriction, but you're getting a sneak peek of it right here with the contracts that the Marlins are already currently working with. And speaking of what we're currently working with, we also do have quite a few good prospects starting out here between 2 starting pitchers, Thomas White with A potential, and also Robbie Snelling with B potential, both lefties as well, which I really like. And we've got some position players here as well, between Owen Casey, who came over from the Cubs this year, Joe Mack behind the dish, who is now up with the Major League team, and then Ava Arquette, who's a little younger, and he's an infielder who looks promising. And speaking of young talent, we're going to be looking for a lot of it in the draft classes throughout this video. And this gives me a chance to tell you about the one other wrinkle that I have for this rebuild. So during this rebuild, I get to choose one player that I scouted and drafted, one homegrown talent, that I can extend long-term, and his payroll does not count against my budget. And the reason for this is because this player is going to be the centerpiece of the team, and this player is going to get fans into the ballpark, and his contract is going to pay for itself. So I will be looking far and wide in these draft classes to find our one superstar, hopefully a position player, and hopefully I can find them in the first year. I'm going to start by looking at second baseman James Bentley, who has a very well-rounded profile here, some good speed, and also has some zeros in his profile in the bottom right there for bunt and drag bunt, which is usually a good sign in this game. Other than him, nobody really piqued my interest right away here in this class as we pick at number 14, so there's really no point in me scouting the best player on the board here, which is second baseman Andreas Alvarado. We're actually off to a nice start here in the first season, 12-9 right out of the gate in the National League East, which has some heavy hitters we'll be competing with throughout this rebuild. This includes the Phillies, who have a $313 million payroll, the Braves with a $253 million payroll, and then the Mets, who have the second highest payroll in Major League Baseball at $381. And unfortunately, James Bentley is not looking like the guy here. He didn't move up in his draft ranking, but I did find a promising reliever here who looks good, and I also found some very good starting pitchers in Discovery, including the third-ranked player in the class. And I've got very high hopes here for the 14th and 15th ranked player in the class, who we also uncovered here in Discovery. So we are off to a good start on the pitching side, but need to find a more talented position player. Moving ahead to week 8, I found somebody that I'm interested in here, and that is Sylvester Ritter, a first baseman with some great contact stats and all around just looks solid. A week away from the first draft, we've fallen 12 games under 500 now. We're just in front of the Nationals, who are also rebuilding in their own right, but we just got some pretty bad news on the injury front. Sandy Alcantara is going to miss 2 to 3 months. So that pretty much wipes him out as a potential trade candidate, and most likely I will be hanging on to Sandy. So as we head into draft class number 1 here, Sylvester Ritter is the best player that I found, and he looks really good. He looks really good, and I wouldn't mind reaching to take him at number 14. I mean, he's ranked first for us. I say it's a reach because he started off as the 50th ranked player, but he's not the only guy that moved up the board, and not the only first baseman that moved up the board. Greg Payton looks very good and has an interesting profile with elite defense at first base, as well as really good contact, so he is very high up in my pick list. Our Discovery pitchers also look pretty good between Matthew Winters here, Brett Pride, Kevin Kobayashi all look good. Jerry Flood also went up the board a lot and has some nice control. And I wasn't able to finish David Ramirez's profile, but he is also a very good late round option, as he also should have a potential, but again, with a low starting overall. In my mind here for the first round, it's really Sylvester or bust, so he's the only guy that I've got on my board to start out here, and I'm going to simulate ahead to our pick, and he is still there. I am not going to take the chance of him falling to our second pick, which I think was 51. He's the best player that I've found, and he looks really good and exciting, so that's the first pick of this Marlins rebuild, Sylvester Ritter. So now I've gone back and filled up my board a little more here, and I definitely want Greg Payton to fall as long as possible, as well as our Discovery starting pitchers, to get the most out of this draft class. So we'll simulate ahead here, and Greg Payton is still on the board. And so are a bunch of our starters as well, including Jerry Flood, who is really piquing my interest right now. Our next pick is number 69, which means that Greg Payton has a pretty good chance to fall there, given that he hasn't been taken already, and he started off ranked 108. And I just noticed he's a switch hitter, which makes me like him even a little bit more. So because I think he's going to fall, I want to take Jerry Flood. He's got guaranteed high potential, good control, just very well-rounded, and a college pitcher here in the second round that I can believe in the future. This is going very well so far, and Greg Payton has such a unique build that I honestly have not seen before. I feel like he could be converted into an outfielder or play, third base or something like that with that defense, but he's starting out as a first baseman, and I want him. He is my third pick. And as we move ahead here, my board is holding up pretty well. I've still got some pitchers to choose from between Matthew Winters, who looks good. Brett Pride, I think, might be a little better. He could struggle against righties, but his control is very, very good, and he also has a higher potential range. So I think I'm going to go with Brett Pride over Matthew Winters, and I think that is pick number 4 here. I wouldn't mind picking Winters in the next round if he's still there, and he is. I'm going to go with Matthew Winters, and then we should come back around for David Ramirez, because I'm very confident he's going to have high potential. But let's grab Winters here. David Ramirez, please stay on the board. He does. This is going exactly how I drew it up. So our second to last pick is Ramirez. And Bud Haynes has survived all the way to the end here. So in the very last pick, we are getting the number 22 ranked player in the class. I could not have asked for a better start to the rebuild. So as we begin to approach the trade deadline here, I've loaded up the trading block, and if we don't get any hits, these are some of the guys that I want to trade. They're all on the pitching side of things, but I want to take this second to explain a little bit about how the Marlins could actually compete with this low of a payroll. If you already know a lot about baseball, then you're going to know most of what I'm going to explain, but just to make sure everyone is up to speed, baseball's contracts are very weird. Let's take a look at one of our young players here, Owen Casey, to explain and kind of demonstrate how this goes. Players have 3 years on a renewable contract, where for those 3 years, no matter what, they earn the league minimum, which in this game is actually $780,000 per year. It shows $820 here, but it's actually $780. After those 3 years, every MLB player goes into arbitration, which is a very unique situation. The player and the team sit across from each other in essentially a courtroom and argue how much they're worth. For example, in 2029, Owen Casey may think he's worth $4 million at that point, depending on how good he is, and the team might think he's worth $3 million, and the arbitration panel has to decide whether it's 4 or 3. It can only be one of those two, it can't be any in between. Usually arbitration 1 or ARB 1 is pretty affordable, so that gives the team 4 years of having a cheap player pretty much no matter how good they are. But once you get into ARB 2 and especially ARB 3, players become much more expensive, and you can see that in Tarek Skubal's case this past year, who went into arbitration 3 and earned over $30 million, a record for a starting pitcher. So let's look at Otto Lopez here, who's probably our best player, and his contract is going into ARB 1. So I don't want to trade him yet, even though we're not very good, because there's a chance that I can afford this with my $80 million restriction next season. And if I can, I still have team control until his final year of arbitration, so I can trade him. So this is why you see all these cheap contracts on the Marlins books, and why they have the youngest team in the league. It's because that's the most affordable players. The way that a small market team can compete is to have a lot of young talent on their team and to constantly be shuffling the roster, trading players that are getting into arbitration for young prospects that are going to be on a renewable contract, and it's just a never-ending life cycle. So I got quite a few trade offers that I didn't love and went right up to the deadline and finally made the first trade of the video, which is going to be emblematic of a bunch of trades that we're going to see throughout this rebuild. The Dodgers wanted some bullpen help, and I mentioned Pete Fairbanks early on, being a free agent to be, so we needed to trade him, otherwise we lose him for no value, especially because we're not competing this year. So I packaged him with Anthony Bender, who I'd love to keep and looks really good, but he is going into arbitration 3. So he's going to be probably $6 or $7 million next year, which is not really something I can pay. So long story short, these are the guys that I'm going to have to move off of throughout this video, and I brought in Ben Kasparius, who looks very good. It can take over in the bullpen and has lots of team control. He's going to be cheap for at least 3, maybe even 4 seasons. Now, it's not like we're atrocious. We're 10 games under 500, but we're definitely not making the playoffs this year. So trying to stack talent for future seasons, which includes our draft picks, and I feel very, very good about this. Let's see how we did here in year 1, and there is a lot of potential, including 99 potential in the 6th round. David Ramirez was that shortstop that I did not finish scouting, and there you go. 99 potential. He can actually play all around the diamond, and he looks very exciting. He's 57 overall, so we do have a ways to wait on him, but looks really good. Our top 3 picks also have a potential, and I knew that Sylvester Ritter was going to be good. 63 overall, 94 potential. Elite contact at first base. Not a whole lot on the power and defensive side, but a very promising player to build around. I took college pitcher Jerry Flood because he had that guaranteed high potential range and good control. He is definitely going to be on this team in the next 3 to 4 years. And then Greg Payton, who has such an interesting profile with elite contact and discipline and also elite defense at first base. This switch hitting first baseman is really, really interesting. Point being, we got a lot of potential, and including 99 potential. I'm not sure if any of these guys will be the one prospect that I dish out a long-term deal for, but there's some guys who definitely have the opportunity for that. I do think the best player in this class is second baseman Andreas Alvarado here. Very well-rounded profile, can also play shortstop, looks really good. But I am not going to complain at all. We got exactly what we needed. The farm system is loaded up here, which is exactly what we need to do in order to make this budget strategy work. Okay, so we finished out season 1 here with 73 wins. Not great. We've got some standouts offensively, though, and it's the guys that you really would expect. Xavier Edwards and Otto Lopez, who are both going into arbitration 1. So we will see how expensive they are. Otherwise, we may have to make a much tougher decision than I had to make at the deadline, because these are fan favorite core pieces of this Marlins team right now. Stowers and Conine were pretty good, and my vision for them going forward is to build a platoon, because Stowers is not very good against lefties, and Conine is, so I've kind of got an idea of where I want to go next year. I kind of just let everybody play this full season, so I wasn't micromanaging the roster, really. Unfortunately, Jacob Marcy's potential went down, which is tough, because he is a good long-term center field option, at least defensively, which is very important to me. We're going to have Sandy again next year, hoping for a little better season. The stats look excellent for Sandy. Also, we have Yuri Perez, who I haven't even mentioned at this point. He is an elite strikeout pitcher, which is pretty good in real life, but in this game, it's not quite as good. So we're going to have to figure out what we want to do with him, but he's still cheap for a while, so we'll probably just hang on to him. And the Dodgers end up defeating the Yankees here in 2026. Let's get into this offseason and really start building my first team. And I'm going to start by firing pretty much all of our coaches because I do not like the attributes that they are adding, or in the case of our head coach, subtracting. I don't even know why this guy's here. You're better off without a coach. Now, when it comes to free agency, this is very much up a financial analyst's alley because I need to basically look at these guys as investments. And wherever I put my money in, which I don't have a lot of, I need to get a lot of return back. So a lot of times what I'm going to look to do is find some older players or players that just haven't been given as much opportunity in the major leagues who aren't asking for as much money. Just a good random example here is Lamont Wade Jr., who has elite discipline and should be a great on-base guy if I were to sign him, and he's only asking for $2 million per year. And I also need to get very creative in free agency when it comes to pitching and find pitchers that have some upside and are not going to be too expensive, like maybe a Chris Paddock who's got good control, which is the most important stat here, and he's asking for $3.5 million. So that's what I'm going to have to do at least until we start becoming successful. We're going to have to first be successful and get to 90 wins on a very low budget, an $80 million budget. So I spent a while trying to look for a Xavier Edwards trade and just couldn't find anything that I really liked back in return. So I decided to reevaluate because if you look at our salaries at $25 million right now and Arbin renewable estimates of $65 million, that puts us at 90. So we're obviously over our threshold, which is why I was going to trade Xavier Edwards. However, I think I can keep him and make some other decisions with guys in arbitration. Like maybe we don't bring back Braxton Garrett, who was not great last year, and he's asking for $8.5 million. And we could rely on some of the young guys coming up from the farm. I won't talk about every single player and every trade in this much detail throughout this video, but this is kind of emblematic of the decisions, the challenging decisions that the Marlins have to make every single offseason in order to ball on a budget like this. So I should be able to keep the X-Man here for another season, as well as I gave a 2-year deal to Otto Lopez because I think he is more than worth it, and we don't have anybody coming up at short that can play to the level that Otto can. One other thing to explain up front here is that relievers can get very expensive, and we can't afford to spend $6 million or $4 million on every single relief pitcher. We might be able to have 1 or 2 expensive guys in the bullpen, but for the most part, we need young, controllable, renewable contract relief pitchers that are going to play well in order to make this work. So I'll always be making these kind of trades where a reliever that's getting into arbitration or another player getting into arbitration, I trade them for an up-and-coming relief prospect, especially lefties like Joe Jones here, in order to just constantly have some way to replenish the bullpen. So throughout these 10 seasons, there will be a lot of trades like this. I'll show some of them like this one, and a lot of it will just happen in the background. And there's one other thing that I need to mention at this point as well in this first offseason is that normally I don't like doing this in my rebuilds, but Greg Payton is not a first baseman. His defense is way too good. His skills, his tools are way too good to put him at first base. So again, I normally don't like doing this, but I think it makes sense for this rebuild and this style that I'm going for here to have Greg Payton come up through our farm system as a second baseman. And that also helps too because we have Sylvester Ritter, our first rounder, coming up at first base, and then we'll have Payton coming up at second base in the meantime, so we can kind of spread our good talent around the diamond. Your newest Oriole, Tarek Skubal, $48 million per year. I'm hoping to compete as soon as possible and that this will be our only chance at the first overall pick, at that lottery pick. So let's see what we can do here. Maybe we can get a little lucky and move up in the draft ranking. Well, we end up moving down a slot, so we've got the 7th pick next year, and we'll see what we can do with it. I'm going to plan to be very active in the Rule 5 draft throughout this video. And again, I won't show every single thing, but this is always a great place to get good relief pitchers, especially guys who just need an opportunity. I only made a couple of small moves in free agency, bringing in Ty France to play first base, who has some pretty good stats, one of my favorite budget guys that always comes available here in free agency. And I also brought in Alex Call for 1 year and $4 million because we really needed an outfielder that is good against lefties. And he also plays good defense, has good discipline. I think he's going to be worth it, and he has B potential, so maybe he'll improve throughout this season. other than that, I was able to keep the core together. I was able to keep the band together here between Hicks, Edwards, Stowers, Lopez, Conine, Norby, Casey, Marcy. 8 out of 9 of our lineup is the same as last year, at least against righties. Ty France is the only difference. Against lefties, Rule 5 pickup Andy Ibanez is coming in to play third base. He doesn't really have good arm strength, but I don't really have any other options, and I think he's going to hit well. We needed to improve against lefties this year, so that was my main focus with a lot of these moves here. And we've got some useful pieces on the bench as well. We actually have 2 really nice catchers between Liam Hicks, who is better offensively, not quite as good against lefties, but then we have Joe Mack on the bench, who's probably going to take over the full-time role next year, and he's much better defensively. So a nice little catcher tandem here. Rotation is also very much the same, and I think it's the strength of this team. That's what the Marlins are known for right now, is a really good young rotation, and then you have Sandy Alcantara coming in as our ace. I want to see a little more out of him this year, a little better than 3.91. I think he's capable of that, and I also want him to stay healthy as well. Yuri Perez, Max Meyer, Jansen Jung, and then we've got a rookie coming up, Robbie Snelling, and we'll see what he can do this year. I don't know if he's 100% ready to dominate in the show, but he, I think, has an opportunity to break out. We've got the number 1 farm system after that excellent draft class last year, so a big storyline this season is going to be how do these guys develop and break out, especially Ritter and Peyton, who are both going to be in AA. Are one of these guys going to emerge as our future long-term extension, our future centerpiece of this Marlins franchise? So for season 2, our payroll is dead on $80 million. And I think a good goal is to get to at least 500. Let's be a winning team this year. And we start the season off against the Brewers with a 3-0 victory. Sandy gets the win. In fact, he threw a 3-hit complete game shutout with 10 Ks. Are we going to get Cy Young Sandy here in the final year of his Marlins contract? Just over 30 games into season 2 here, we are above 500. We're 18-15 and in second place, and we actually were in first place out of the gate, but we just lost 5 in a row to finish out the month of April. Sandy has been excellent through his first 6 starts with a 2 ERA, and we're also seeing some massive improvement from Yuri Perez here, who is more of a strikeout guy, and oftentimes that doesn't work out too well in MLB The Show franchise, but this year he's looking good. Rookie Robbie Snelling is off to a bit of a rough start though, but we'll see how he adjusts throughout the course of this season. And I've scouted a few guys in this class. I don't know what it is about first baseman right now, but that seems to be where the best players are, and I think that Crew Robinson here actually could be generational, if not very, very good. So that is who I'll be targeting in the first round when it comes draft time. So a week out from the MLB draft in year 2 here, we are 1 game above 500, so pretty much playing exactly how I hoped, but we were in much better position again at some point here and went on a tough losing streak kind of midway through June. A big part of that is the fact that Xavier Edwards got hurt, so I've had to kind of move the lineup around a little bit. There's some nice positional flexibility between these guys, but having Christopher Morel play second base is definitely a far cry from what Xavier can provide, especially considering he was our best hitter throughout this season. So pretty tough to lose him. We'll see what we can do. He should be back in like a month or so. Stowers has been really good in that platoon role. He has gotten some at-bats against lefties as well with that injury because it just had a rebound effect on everybody else. Otto having a bit of a down year. 766 OPS for him is not what he's really capable of, but there's still a lot of good stuff here in the lineup. Ty France has let me down a little bit here, and so is Andy Ibanez. I was hoping for better contributions out of these 2 off-season moves. The strength of this team is really in the pitching staff. We've got Max Meyer and Sandy Alcantara both in our rotation with ERAs at about 2.5. So I'm glad that I brought Meyer back. It was close, but I was able to afford the $7.4 million here in ARB1. And then obviously Sandy, centerpiece of our team right now. I'm impressed with those guys, but I think I'm most impressed with Yuri Perez, who has maxed out his potential here. And he is pitching very, very well. 3.12 ERA. The main thing that is impressing me is the low whip, 1.04 whip for a guy that focuses on strikeouts. He's having a great year. Couple concerns at the back end of the bullpen between Henriquez, Sousa, and Young, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. Maybe it's just small sample size, give them time, because I don't have room in the budget to really take on any other contracts, and I kind of want to play this thing out, and I don't really plan on selling off because we're right there in the hunt. We're 2 games out of the wild card. It's going to take a lot to get to our 90-win mark to increase the budget, but we could sneak into the playoffs. So looking at my draft class here, the best player I have on the board is starting pitcher Jose Reyes, who does look excellent, but he's ranked 2nd. We've got the 7th pick. I don't think I can get him. I should be able to get Rob Correa or Kevin Adams, Yoel Villalobos, Ronnie McKenna, all other good starters that are also up towards the top of my board. My main target, though, as I mentioned earlier, is Crew Robinson. Probably a 50% chance, maybe less, that we can get him because he's ranked 5th in the class, but he looks phenomenal. Mentioned that I have some good pitching options after that for the second round. I've also got center fielder Claude Rossi, who moved up the board a lot. Kind of a late round gem for maybe round 3, our 83rd pick there. I've also got this Discovery closer, David Boswell, who's very interesting. And I scouted this closer, Jesse McFadden, who was a lefty that I also want to take because I think I mentioned before that finding lefties in the bullpen can get really expensive. Okay, Jose Reyes got taken 3rd overall by the Nationals, but Crew Robinson is still on the board here. I'm not going to go for anybody else. I'm not even going to look at anybody else. He's the best player that I have, and I'm just glad that he made it to my pick. He should be really good. I can't believe how well my board held up here through that first round. It's a tough call between a lot of these guys towards the top here, but Rob Correa is the 3rd ranked player, and he's got a super high potential range and a high floor as an 18-year-old starter. Even though he's Discovery, this is my best bet here in the second round. Hopefully other guys can make it to the later rounds here because I want to take this closer with our 3rd pick, Jesse McFadden. Very, very promising profile for the Southpaw here, and I just need to stock up on bullpen arms to save a lot of money down the road here. Okay, that center fielder Rossi is here, survived to my 83rd pick. He should be very good, another high potential position player here, pretty much guaranteed. This draft is going very well for me here. Villalobos is still here for my 5th pick. We're getting the 8th ranked player with pick number 113. I think this Discovery closer Boswell is going to survive to the end here, so I'm going to go with shortstop Von Ouellette here with the last pick. Another late round gem type of guy. And then hopefully we can finish things off with our closer. Let me simulate ahead, and Boswell is still here. Should be very good. And that's 2 solid closers that we got in this draft, along with a lot of good position players and starters. This might have been a masterclass. And before going into the draft, we actually won 8 of our last 9 games, and all of a sudden we're 52-45. Liam Hicks is our only All-Star this year, kind of to my surprise. He is batting close to 300 with 11 home runs and 34 RBI. I expected at least one of our pitchers to make it, but there's just some other starters that are really dominating. All right, good news. Xavier Edwards is back at the top of our lineup, which is going to be huge for the last 2 months of the season as we're currently 60-53, right where we want to be at this point. I couldn't make any moves at the deadline because I can't afford it. We're already maxed out at our budget at this point. I am expecting this draft class to be unbelievably good. So let's take a look at how we did here. And I mean, come on, that is phenomenal. I'm not going to say 100% for sure, but I'm feeling pretty confident that Crew Robinson is going to be our future superstar who gets that long-term deal, 74 overall with 99 potential. He's kind of that new build in MLB The Show franchise this year where he's not 78 or 79 overall to start out, but still has 99 potential. So he's basically like a semi-generational talent. And I mean, this is perfect. And it goes with the theme of the video so well. We've got our own Jose Ramirez now to build around for this small market team, and he can actually play third base and the corners in the outfield as well, so I can kind of choose where I want him to go, but no matter where he plays, he's going to be phenomenal. And there is so much good potential and talent in this draft class. Rob Correa, my second round starter, is 65 overall with 93 potential, and he looks great. My 2 closers, both Jesse McFadden and David Boswell, are A potential. McFadden was worth it in the 3rd round. A lefty with 92 potential and 70 overall. I mean, this guy might be in the bullpen just a year from now. And then my 2 later round position players, they do have low overalls between Claude Rossi and Von Ouellette here, but they also have massively high potential. There is so much talent on this Marlins roster after just 2 seasons of really good scouting and drafting. The 6 teams who picked in front of us made a huge mistake not picking Crew Robinson in the 1st round. I can guarantee you that. The future is looking bright as he will join David Ramirez, Greg Payton, and Sylvester Ritter on the team in the upcoming years, and we're going to have a strong young core that we can afford and that will help us be very competitive. Before I sim to the end of the season, I just want to say again how impressed I am with this pitching rotation. Meyer, Alcantara, and Yuri Perez all with ERAs under 3, so we've got a big 3 if we can make it to the playoffs. Unfortunately, this isn't going to help. One of our best power bats, if not our best power bat, at least against righties, Kyle Stowers, is going to be out for the rest of the year. And we've had a bit of a slow August. We're only 2 games above 500 now, and our playoff hopes are starting to slip here. Owen Casey is kind of like Kyle Stowers light, the Walmart version of him, at least right now. But he's nowhere near as good as Stowers, but he is going to have to step up here towards the end of the year because he's playing every day now. Although maybe against lefties, I'll give Christopher Morel some more at-bats because he at least has that chance of some good power. I don't necessarily love the defense. He's got a good arm. We'll give him some more at-bats. We'll see how he does. Things were looking good for the Fish throughout most of this season, but we've kind of fallen apart here towards the end of the year, and our final record in year 2 is 80-82. So 2 games below my goal of being at 500, and at certain times I thought we were going to make the playoffs. Our biggest issue is the offense. We just do not produce enough runs right now. 21st in runs scored definitely did not match the highs of our pitching staff. It looks like we do have a league leader here, and it's Sandy, who led the league in complete games, shutouts, and innings pitched. That is the Sandy that we know and love. In his final year with the Marlins here, a 2.82 ERA in those 207 innings. I mean, that's just exceptional. Exceptional work. Max Meyer, as I talked about before, was also phenomenal. Yuri Perez did fall back a little bit here to about a 3.5 ERA, but this is super promising. Unfortunately, our rookie Robbie Snelling did not quite figure it out. I left him up here because he kept developing. He went up 5 overall, but he was our worst qualified pitcher here with a 5.28 ERA. There are some really good pieces of this offense that unfortunately are going to have to get let go because they'll be too expensive next year, between Xavier Edwards and Kyle Stowers especially. I locked up Otto for that extra season, so he'll be that rock, that pillar for us, everyday shortstop. Alex Call was great for his 1 year with us. I'm tempted to bring him back, we'll have to see, but because he had a good year, he's going to be a lot more expensive now. A lot of our auxiliary pieces just did not do as well as I expected, especially Andy Ibanez. I was really hoping that in that platoon role against lefties, he would be a difference maker. He was not. Last guy, though, that I'm really pleased with is Jacob Marcy. This is a huge bounce back offensively from last year to a 771 OPS, and his potential went back up to B after going down last year. So he's going to be holding down center field for next year, and hopefully the year after that as well. Our prospects from the first draft class also developed very well between David Ramirez and Greg Payton, as well as Sylvester Ritter. I'm especially getting more and more excited about Greg Payton. He's going to be really good. We pretty much have a Xavier Edwards on the way, but we're going to need 1 or 2 seasons before he's anywhere near the level of player that Edwards was. And we'll also get to look forward to another young pitcher coming up, Thomas White, but more on that next season. And your World Series winner this year is the Guardians, taking down the Braves in 2027. The world of baseball contracts is very complicated, and coming up this year, after this season, there's going to be a negotiation between the MLB Players Union as well as the league and its owners. Part of the reason for that is how long it takes young players to get to free agency. A team could have 6 years of control before a good young talent is able to seek contracts in the open market. Many times, good players don't get their first real good payday until they're in their late 20s or even their 30s. Because of the structure of these contracts, MLB teams are often incentivized to keep good players down in the minors for longer. And unfortunately, that is oftentimes what these small market teams do. I'm going to try to avoid that the best I can throughout this video, but that's just kind of the nature of the beast. There is one rule already in place, though, that is meant to give good young players a payday a little earlier, and it's called a Super 2. You can see that Yuri Perez's contract sheet here looks a little different because there's 4 arbitration years. Since his MLB service time is 2 years and some change, he is eligible for a Super 2. It's a little over 2 years, and what that means, it's essentially good young players who have a little over 2 years of service time but not yet 3 can actually skip that 3rd year of a renewable contract and go directly into arbitration. What does that mean for me as a financial analyst for the Marlins? Well, he's now asking for $8 million when I had been planning on $780,000. And thus we arrive again at a very difficult situation. What do I do with Yuri Perez? Do I spend that money or do I trade him at the height of his value? The fact that he had a great season, of course, makes that a little bit more difficult. So the way we're structured here with our budget every single offseason, I'll just peruse through the trading block and just try to find prospects that I'm interested in for the future and trade guys that are arbitration eligible, and that's what I'm doing right now. And I'll also be filling out my trading block every year too, and it's hard to say goodbye to somebody like the X-Man Xavier Edwards, but as I mentioned, this has to be it for him. So I'll make a mix of deals on my own, and I'll also see what other teams are willing to offer me. I then traded Jansen Junk, Liam Hicks, Dax Fulton, and Bradley Blaylock all together because I wanted Hyesung Kim and James Tibbs from the Dodgers. But I had to take the payroll off the Dodgers books, so I had to grab Nick Pivetta. But I can't afford Nick Pivetta, so he's immediately going on the block, and I've got to ship him out somewhere else. I traded Kyle Stowers to the Mariners for a very exciting starting pitcher prospect, and if a pitcher comes from the Mariners, that's usually a good sign. They know what they're doing out there. And the Guardians had enough room in their small budget to take on the very affordable contract for Pivetta, and I got this really cool catching prospect who's going to be my backup. And ultimately, Sandy became a Cleveland Guardian. Looks like they're up in their payroll a little bit before we are. And after all of that, I finally have my lineup going into year 3, and here it is. And honestly, it's just okay. I don't necessarily love it, but we'll see. Maybe someone like James Tibbs has a big breakout year and becomes one of the better outfielders in the league. Hyesung Kim should be pretty fun. He's got some great contact. I'm worried about the discipline, and I could say that about, honestly, a few guys that we have in our starting lineup. I brought back Alex Call for $6 million, and he's going to get everyday playing time because I really liked what I saw out of him last season with a 362 on base and an 807 OPS. And with Liam Hicks gone, I'm turning the keys over to Joe Mack full-time at the catcher position. We'll see what he can do. The defense is elite. We just want to see a little development on the offensive side. This offense is really still going to revolve around Otto Lopez at the end of the day, and this is his last year. Once again, the strength should be in the pitching staff. I brought back Yuri Perez, and hopefully he can follow up a great season last year with another one this year. I paid him $7.8 million. For our ace, though, I'm going to go with Max Meyer because he's had 2 excellent seasons in a row with a 3.13 ERA and a 2.91. I'm hoping he can lead the way. Maybe Snelling can do a little better this year, but I think the biggest story is Thomas White coming up here as our 5th starter, the A potential young lefty. He's the 17th ranked prospect in the league, and amazingly, he's our 8th ranked prospect. We have an unbelievable farm system. Is the lower control and clutch going to hold him back at all? That is my only concern. Bullpen is about the same here, but I'm going to go with Tyler Phillips as our closer this season because the stats look really good, and Henriquez kind of struggled a little bit. Maybe we can surprise some people this year, but more than anything, I'm so excited for all of these prospects to start coming up because we are going to be a dominant team, especially when 99 potential player Crew Robinson joins the club. He'll be starting things in Double-A along with Sylvester Ritter, but Crew Robinson has that other positional flexibility, so they should be playing at the same time. And yeah, he is the front runner for our future long-term extended superstar. But don't sleep on Greg Payton because he could also be the guy. He developed great last year, and I really like him. And just like last year, our budget is dead on $80 million. Can we get to 90 wins this year and bump that up just a little bit? And by the way, before I start this year, Freddie Freeman is on the waiver wire. I would love to pick him up, but unfortunately, I don't have room for that $8 million. This would have been a pretty fun guy to throw on this team. And also, it looks like Braxton Garrett was not able to land on his feet as the Cubs waived him as well. If I knew that the waiver wire was going to be this good every year, maybe I would do a waiver wire only rebuild challenge, but that's for another day, and that's kind of insane. 73 wins in year 1, 80 last year. I would really like to be competitive this season as we're coming out of the gates pretty strong here, and we're currently 6-2 to start the season. And I have tons of draft picks this year, 8 of them to be exact, in order to keep adding to the best farm system in the league. Just stuck in neutral here about 2 months into season 3. We are dead 500. We're definitely in the hunt, but offensively we're struggling. Down year so far from Otto Lopez, who's the centerpiece of our offense, at a 692 OPS is making a big difference in terms of how many runs we're able to put on the board here. Not that many. Hyesung Kim is also hitting awful, so far that move has not worked. I'm really missing Xavier Edwards right now. As you can see, we're 3rd to last in runs scored, so it's kind of impressive that we're actually 500 right now. We've got a few great arms in the bullpen, and that's a big part of it, and also in his rookie season, Thomas White has a 3.5 ERA, which is better than I projected him for, so far so good with our next ace. Yuri Perez with a 4 ERA, and then the guys who are really struggling are Meyer and Snelling, who are almost at a 5 ERA. I'd love to jumpstart the offense with a trade, but I can't afford it. And all those prospects that I just told you about, well, they're not exactly MLB ready just yet. Just have to hope that we can turn this around and the guys can start playing better. And we continue to play just about 500 ball, but 3 games above 500 now at the start of July means we're in second place. However, we are 3 games out of the wild card as it currently stands. This is a good week to bank some wins against the Cardinals and the White Sox, and there we go, not bad, as we head to the 2028 draft. And this draft class is really all about the starting pitchers. There are some very good options here in the first round and also later on. We've got a couple discovery guys here. I really struggled to find good first round position player talent, but the best of the bunch is center fielder Jason Sanders, who is very tempting, although those pitchers look really good. I do have some late round guys like left fielder Alfonso Pereira, shortstop Alexi Mosquera, and then third baseman Darren Roussan should be pretty good as well. And as always, a couple of closers that I could take mid-round here. The first overall pick here was catcher Tom Beck, who looks really exciting, and I think the Royals are going to be pretty happy with that selection, and we'll see who falls to us here. I forgot to tell you about Kyle Mott. I didn't scout him because I knew he would go ahead of me, but this guy looks to be generational in left field, and he looks awesome. And he is going to be heading to the Rangers, who definitely need some offense. And unfortunately, my favorite position player, Jason Saunders, is taken ahead of me here with the 10th pick. I think he's going to be really good, and he is heading to St. Louis. Not to mention I lost my favorite of all the pitchers that were available. Damon Knowles here gets taken right in front of me. However, the first and second ranked players in the class are still here, both starting pitchers, Pat Phillips and Michael Miller. Miller's a lefty, but he doesn't seem to be able to get lefties out at all, which kind of concerns me, and the number 1 ranked player, Pat Phillips here, looks pretty good. I wish he had more hits per 9 against righties, but he seems like he'll have good control and some strikeout ability, no clutch at all, but I think that's going to be my first rounder. He's going to have high potential, so whether he plays for us or ends up being a trade, he's going to be really valuable. And with our next pick, I'm going to go for another starting pitcher, one who's kind of close to the show here, Dave Catt. He's got elite hits per 9 against righties and also seems to have good control and a lot of stamina. So I like that he's relatively close to the show, and if I look at our farm system, I could definitely add some pitchers because we've taken a lot of good position players so far. Closing pitcher Freddie Fernandez has a wild profile here with no control but elite per 9 stats, and I think he's a fun pick. I might as well take him here with pick number 65 because I should be able to get the position players I want later on. And those position players are Pereira, Mosquera, and Roussan. So let's simulate ahead here, and they're all still on the board. I'm going to go Pereira first here. I love the defense. He actually projects as a center fielder as opposed to someone who's going to play in the corners with an above average bat as well. So this is a pretty exciting pick here, number 72. Now I'm going to grab Darren Roussan, third baseman here. Mosquera started as not ranked, which means he probably could fall later on in the class, but I don't want to risk it because I think he's going to be really, really good. And I just want to make sure that I secure this shortstop because we actually haven't picked a shortstop yet of all the infielders that I've taken so far. Pick number 149, let's grab Discovery starting pitcher Edmundo Doe, who I think is going to find his spot on the Major League roster at some point. 4 above average pitches. So I am liking what I'm seeing here, and he's not too far from the show either. And with my last pick here, I've run out of options, so I'm just going to take a shot in the dark at this relief pitcher, Bernie Lloyd, who has a realistic profile and actually might not be too bad. So that's how we'll finish things out here. I've been drafting great so far. We'll see how they look in a couple weeks. And we win the last game of the series here to take the series from the White Sox, which puts us up to 51-46 here, 5 games above 500. Our closer, Tyler Phillips, is a well-deserving all-star this year. The profile looks great. That's why I put him in this role. 29-2 in his save opportunities so far, with a 1.47 ERA and a .88 whip. It's going to be a tough decision next year because going into ARB2, he's going to be expensive because of how well he's playing, so maybe I'll be able to shell out the money in order to keep him. If we get to that 90 win number, that would be some extra funds that I could use, and maybe I could put that $5 million right into his contract. And we've got one more all-star here. It's Jacob Marcy, who's playing great in center field. Anything we can get offensively from him is such a bonus because his defense is great, and that is why he's on this team. I really value a good defensive center fielder. He's got a 790 OPS right now. 4.4 WAR last year. He's already got 3.6. He's been excellent. Right now, he's in between PCA and Michael Harris for that gold glove in center field. Doesn't really have the assists that he's probably going to need, only 3 assists so far, but he's playing great. Oh, and Tyler Phillips is currently leading for reliever of the year, which is impressive. I hope he can hold on to that because Morahone's profile looks exceptional and he's getting better. The type of guy that I'd love to be able to sign, but just have no shot in hell of being able to afford him. And that is why I keep getting all of these closers in here, because I want a Morahone of my own someday. Maybe Jesse McFadden's going to be that guy. He's been excellent in the minors, 1.49 ERA in AAA. He's going to be coming up next season. And checking in on our 99 potential prospect here, Crew Robinson, he is developing very rapidly in AA right now, and he has got an 809 OPS, which is pretty solid. I think he's got a little higher ceiling than that. Especially as he gets better against righties to match up with his stats against lefties, there's really no stopping Crew Robinson. He's going to be a monster someday. Let's see how we finish out this season, because we are absolutely in the thick of it right now. And right on the deadline here, we won a series against our cross-state rivals in the Rays, and we're just getting a 4-game series going against a division rival in the Mets, who are in first place ahead of us by 4.5 games. We're still really struggling to get runs across the board here, 25th, with James Tibbs actually leading the way ahead of Jacob Marcy right now. But we're hanging in there, and more help is on the way in the farm system. Speaking of which, let's take a look at our draft picks. This is draft number 3 of the video, and I'm feeling pretty good about it, and that looks solid. Actually, my expectations are a little high now after the first few that I've had. I'm definitely happy with our first rounder in 19-year-old starting pitcher Pat Phillips, who is just very well rounded. We'll try to sharpen up the clutch a little bit, but with 94 potential, the profile's going to look pretty damn good someday. The position player picks were a little bit disappointing. I was expecting some higher potential, but I do like Alfonso Pereira quite a bit. That profile out there in center field is going to play great, so let's get him in the farm system and just have him sharpen up and round out some of his skills here. I'm pretty sure Michael Miller was the starter that I was debating, who was ranked 2nd, and he's got 98 potential. I was just worried that he may not be able to get any lefties out, but with 98 potential, I mean, that feels like a miss. And here's Kyle Mott, who I mentioned is going to be generational, and yeah, he is, and he looks awesome, so keep your eyes on him throughout the rest of this video. I'll make sure to check in and see how he's doing. Right now, we are in the last wildcard spot, so let's simulate to the end of this season and see if we can make the playoffs for the first time. With 6 games left in the season, we are 1 game out of a wildcard spot at 82 wins, and we've got the Cubs and the Red Sox in front of us. Heading to Chicago for a 3-game set, we end up winning the series. We are still 1 game behind the Padres, though, so we've got to head into Boston, and really, I think we need a sweep just to feel good about this. The rookie Thomas White is on the mound today. We win that game. Max Meyer on the mound versus Ranger Suarez. We take a win. And to finish off this sweep, we can't get it done, and unfortunately, we're gonna miss the playoffs. We tied with the Mets, just that 1 game out of the wild card. We got so close. We've gotten better each year, but I'm really itching for the playoffs now, 3 seasons in. We did get an award here. Let's see what we've got, and Tyler Phillips secured that Delivery Man of the Year. 48 saves and a 1.67 ERA. He takes down Mason Miller, who had won 2 in a row. I mean, what a phenomenal season for our closer. I hope I can squeeze him into the budget next year, but missing the playoffs and not getting any budget boost so far in this video, it's getting tough. Especially considering I'm going to lose Otto Lopez this offseason, who really turned things around and was our best hitter. I'm going to miss him a lot. Positively, James Tibbs III hit the ground running here, and we're going to have him for at least a couple more years. So there's some young talent that's already on this Major League roster. The OPSs look okay, but this offense just really underperformed, and Hyesung Kim was a really tough blind spot. I thought with that contact, he was going to be really good, and he just was not. And our starting rotation left a lot to be desired because no one ended with an ERA below 4, and Max Meyer, who had been so good, had a 5 ERA this year. We have got to make the playoffs and get 90 wins next year as the Red Sox take down the Dodgers in the 2028 World Series. One of the things that good small market teams have done over the years is invest their money in other ways. Instead of spending $5 million on a free agent, for example, put $5 million into a pitching lab, something that will impact not just one guy, not just signing one guy, but your entire team. This is what I'm sure the Marlins are doing under their new GM, Peter Bendix, who came from the Rays, and that is what the Rays have been so good at over the years, is picking the right places to spend their money, which they don't have a lot of. Where things can get really dangerous is when large market teams do the same thing, like the Yankees, who have gotten really good at pitching development while also having $300 million to spend on their players. It's hard to really capture what I'm saying here in MLB The Show franchise mode, but one of the things that I could do is try to sign the best coaches available. Like, look at my pitching coach here who adds +2 in control and hits per 9, which for me are the two most important pitching stats. So kind of what I was saying here, I'm willing to overpay somebody like Alexi Alvarez because he's going to impact my entire roster. At this point, you know how the offseasons go. Trade away our arbitration-eligible players for younger players that are either going to be on renewable contracts and play now, or prospects who are going to play for us in the future. For this offseason, a big one was Otto Lopez, who I traded to the Blue Jays for second baseman Leo Rivas, who looks pretty good, and then also center fielder Edgar Quintero, who is the number 78 prospect. The other big one was Yuri Perez, who I traded to the Royals. He was asking for about $14 million, and he was very valuable, so I got the number 20 ranked prospect, a third baseman who we're not going to see for a while, and then also the number 23 ranked prospect, a closing pitcher who looks insane. One thing is a little different about this offseason, though, because I am calling up our young superstar, Crew Robinson. He's already 79 overall at 19 years old. He's ready for the show, and at this point, he seems to be the front runner to become our superstar, the face of the team. And if he pans out the way I expect him to, I may not have to trade him someday, because he is probably going to be my one long-term extension. I did take a couple of big swings, though, this offseason. I traded for Brent Rooker because we really needed a DH and we really needed some power. And here is the blockbuster. I went for Hunter Green. This is a one-year rental, but he's got that favorable contract and the Reds had him on the block, so $8.8 million for a certified ace? I think the Marlins can handle this. And I don't need to hoard every single prospect, so I traded some away, including the number 12 ranked prospect in the league here, center fielder Claude Rossi. He was maybe my 7th ranked prospect, and now he's the Reds' number 1 ranked prospect. It takes a while to pull all this together off camera, especially with the restrictions that I have for this team, but here is our lineup going into next year. Bringing in Brent Rooker and Colt Keith here, and I'm hoping that they can make the difference for us offensively because we really struggled to put runs on the board and just in the power department, and that is why Brent Rooker is on this team. The biggest storyline for me is Crew Robinson, who is going to be in the heart of our lineup. Against lefties, he's actually going to be batting cleanup here because he's more developed against lefties at this point. But I'm expecting a pretty big breakout from him, and he should be in the Rookie of the Year race, no doubt about it. I'm giving Ava Arquette the reins to shortstop here. He's not ready offensively, but defensively he looks good, and he was just the best option that I had, so hopefully he can have a good year and continue his development. This team is really about the pitching rotation, though, especially with Hunter Green coming in for one season, and hopefully he can have a really good year. It can be a struggle occasionally for him just because of the walks and his control, so I'm hoping for something in the low 3s for ERA, and that would be great. Thomas White and Robbie Snelling are two young lefties coming back, and then a couple guys that I've traded for here. Matt Bundy is just all about control. He's there to just find the zone and not walk anybody, and then Robbie Nelson I've traded for this offseason just because I needed another cheap 5th starter. And I made a few changes in the bullpen here as well. I think the big one is bringing Jesse McFadden in, the first of our long line of closers that are going to keep coming up just to save money in the bullpen. These guys are going to be a huge part of this team. McFadden is the first, and I was able to sign Tyler Phillips, our reliever of the year. He only wanted $4.2 million, which I was happy to do. 48-4 in save opportunities last year with a 1.67 ERA. And here is our budget at $78 million going into Season 4 with Brent Rooker as our highest paid player. I really need this team to get 90 wins and make the playoffs so that I can get at least a little bit more money to work with. And just before we get into this season, one more thing. Obviously, Crew Robinson is up, the first drafted position player, and he's going to be a stud. But don't forget, we've also got Sylvester Ritter hanging out in AAA, who's going to be a monster at first base, and Greg Payton, who's in AAA as well. I just need to improve his durability. He can't be an everyday player right now, so I'm hanging on to let him improve a little bit more. Those are the guys closest to the show, but there is a laundry list of names in here at this point. We might have the best farm system of all time. Just to illustrate my point, our 20th ranked prospect, center fielder Edgar Quintero, is the 78th ranked prospect in the league. We enter Season 4 with a lot of excitement and anticipation as we open up against the Brewers, and on the mound for them is none other than The Miz, and that's who Crew Robinson draws for his first Major League at-bat, but he doesn't care. He roasts one up the right field line for his first career hit, a stand-up double. And also we're excited to have Hunter Greene in the rotation. Will he lead us to success this year? I think 2 months into year 4 here is a pretty good time to update. We've got enough games played to say that this team is looking really good. We are 15 games above 500 on June 3rd. Offensively, we're right in the middle of the league, which is kind of an improvement for us throughout this rebuild so far. Brent Rooker, James Tibbs III, and Jacob Marcy leading the way. Kind of makes sense. They're all at the top of the lineup, getting those opportunities to put runs on the board. As I really hoped going into this year, making that big move for Hunter Greene, he is leading the way for a pitching staff that is 3rd in ERA. So we're really able to stay in games, and there's some good stuff happening in the bullpen as well. Tyler Phillips coming back as our closer has the lowest ERA on the team, and there's a lot of relief pitchers in here who've been great. Our long man, JP Sears, who's a guy that I love to get on the team just because of that control, has been excellent in his 40 innings or so of work here, but really Hunter Greene is the highlight. A 2.65 ERA. I'm getting more than I could have asked for out of him. In his sophomore year, though, Thomas White continues to struggle a little bit here. He's got a 4.96 ERA at this point with a 1.54 whip. That's just not going to cut it. For a strikeout guy, below 10 Ks per 9 is not great, considering he had 10 last year, and that's how you can kind of get away with the type of profile where you're walking almost 4 guys per 9. So you can just see the difference in last year. He's not getting the strikeouts. The FIP last year also was not great. So for one of the top pitching prospects in the game, there's still a little ways to go here for him to really realize his potential as a future ace. And of course, as things go, we're not going to have him for long, maybe 2 more years after this one. So I'd love for him to have at least one great season as a Marlin. Leo Rivas is not playing every day, but when he is, he's been exceptional. Much better than Hyun Kim was last year. Colt Keith has taken to this team immediately with a 924 OPS. It was kind of a no-brainer for me to bring him in and have him just hold down third base or somewhere in the infield for a few years with how cheap this contract is, since the Tigers had given him an extension already and they were willing to give him up. Sadly, Crew is struggling a little bit at the plate here. We've seen some great moments at some power to all fields, but he's just not quite acclimated himself yet, 43 games into the Major League career with a 678 OPS. But I'm going to be patient with him. He's staying up on the Major League roster, no doubt about it, even at the young age of 19 years old. He's got a Connor Griffin-like profile, so let's give him time to find his way here at the highest level of the game. And last thing here, we've got a little more power this year, which is important. Rooker with 10 home runs, that's why I brought him in. I felt like we lacked some punch in previous teams. Tibbs, who's mostly hitting against righties, that's where his power's really at, also has 10 home runs here. So we've got a little more pop in the bat, which is important. Even Ava Arquette, who's taken over shortstop here, has 4 home runs, and he is definitely not up here for his power. He is up here for his defense. I'm going to be jumping ahead a little further, but before I let you go, Big Red, Owen Casey, it just has not worked out so far with the Marlins. He doesn't get many at-bats. Coach does not like putting him in the lineup because he hasn't had an OPS above 600 since that rookie year, or well, the first full year with the Marlins. It's been a struggle for Owen here. All right, we're a week out from draft number 4 here, still at the top of the division, right where we want to be, and not much has really changed from my last update. The same guys who are playing well, and the same guys who are struggling are still kind of struggling. with the exception of Thomas White. And you can see the improvement in both the whip and the ERA over the last month and a half since we last checked in. He struggles to get deep into games sometimes, but he did have a 7-inning outing here against Baltimore, only giving up 1 run recently, and his last start he went 5 innings and gave up no runs. So we're starting to see him turn things around, especially in terms of the walks. A lot less walks lately compared to his first 3 starts where he walked 3 guys each. And he's developing very rapidly. It's amazing how much more optimistic I am about him in just a month and a half. There is a wealth of pitching talent in draft number 4 here. We've got the 18th pick, and these are my first round options. 3 pitchers, number 5 ranked Wesley Don, number 9 ranked Sid Fernandez, and number 10 ranked Fletcher Baum. All 3 of them look really good. My favorite guy, though, is right fielder Ed Spahn, who I think is a better version of Owen Casey with some really exciting power, some good defense, questionable contact, but I'm very interested in this player. And another potential first-round outfielder for us that we can get at pick 18 is center fielder Juan Macias, who is a 21-year-old player, but has high potential, very good tools with speed, defense, gonna steal a lot of bases. I like Juan Macias as well, but I'd probably prefer one of these pitchers over him. And here's the number 1 ranked player in the class, starting pitcher Fernando Fernandez, who's going to the White Sox. He looked incredible, but at this point in the rebuild, it was out of reach for us. Let's hope Ed Spahn is in reach as I simulate ahead to our pick, and he is gone. Actually, it's Ed Span, and he's going to the Braves. So now I've got to decide between these 3 pitchers. I like all of them. Don has that elite control, but is lacking a little bit in the per 9 stats. Sid Fernandez is better in the per 9 stats and has passable control, and Fletcher Baum is very well rounded, and he looks great. I think I'm going to trust my scouts and go with Wesley Don. I just can't pass up that kind of control, and I don't think I could go wrong with any 3 of these guys, but control is just so overpowered that I think my first round pick here is going to be starting pitcher Wesley Don. And Fletcher Baum actually fell all the way down to pick number 34, which is interesting. Not sure what happened there. Maybe I dodged a bullet and our scout messed him up. I don't know, but in this last pick of the first round, I'm going to take third baseman Phil Venable, who's just pretty well rounded. I think he's one of the better position players towards the top, and I'll show you the rest of my picks here when we can see all of our draft picks in the beginning of August. We actually had kind of a rough week before the draft, and we're now tied for first place here with the Braves. But we've got some all-stars this year in Season 4. Hunter Green, of course, who's been exceptional, is there as a starter. Closer Tyler Phillips, having yet another incredible season, is here for a relief pitcher. And we've got another relief pitcher here, who I believe is a homegrown talent, closing pitcher Jesse McFadden, who just looks unbelievable. As our best lefty in the pen this year, 45 innings to a 2 ERA. I actually have $2 million to play with this time at the trade deadline, and we need an upgrade at the catcher position. What if we reunited with Liam Hicks? I hadn't mentioned it this season yet until now, but Joe Mack's been really struggling and actually lost some of his potential as well. He's got a 5.56 OPS this year after, honestly, a breakout 2028. They're looking for a reliever and an infielder, which is a pretty good matchup for what I have, so we'll see what they think about it. And there we go. That trade is accepted the next day to get us a little help here behind the dish. All right, we're back in first place where we belong, continuing to play well this year. Let's take a look at our draft picks here. You saw the first rounder was Wesley Dunn, and he's coming in with 88 potential, which is solid, 62 overall. Obviously concerned about the per 9 stats, but the control is at the major league level right out of the gate. So we'll see how we could develop the per 9s. Not sure what his trajectory really is. Second rounder Phil Venable here at third base is decent, 55 overall with B potential. Obviously very raw out of the gate here. Maybe my most exciting pick is yet another elite closer. This guy is actually 18 years old and started as not ranked. Andy Giorgio, 92 potential, and I've said it a couple times, I just have to keep stacking up high potential relief arms so that we can have cheap options as these guys get more expensive. I don't have a lot of money to use on my bullpen. There was yet another generational talent in this class. Going to the Cardinals, Chad Beal looks awesome. Center fielder, keep our eyes on him. And here's Juan Macias, the center fielder I had on my board for the first round. He's got 93 potential, and I kind of wish I took him. This is a pretty cool prospect. I do wish Ed Span fell to us, But again, the contact and plate skills are really going to take some work for that power to ever pan out at the major league level. Let's sim to the end of this season because we are on target for 90 wins and our first playoff spot. Already at 92 wins, last series of the year here against Washington, we lose the series, but we get to 93 wins, a huge milestone here for the Marlins. And we're going to be a playoff team. In a little bit here, we'll be taking on the Diamondbacks in the wild card. We've slowly climbed our way up here year after year, admittedly a little bit slower than I would have liked, but finally getting over that 90 win mark gets us in the postseason, gets me some more money to play with next year. That's $5 million more in my bank. And remember that each round of the playoffs we get past is another $2 million, so we've got the chance to really take a big leap here if we have a deep run. Let's start here. We've got league leaders and awards. Let's go for the league leaders first, and it's Tyler Phillips for saves and Matt Bundy for whip. I'm guessing the saves might be related to our award here, and there we go again. Tyler Phillips is the delivery man of the year. Not only that, Mr. Crew Robinson is your NL Rookie of the Year. He really started to hit his stride towards the end of the season, finishing with a .251 average and 20 home runs, going from 79 up to 83 overall. The profile is just getting really exciting. He played 122 games here in his first year and had a .753 OPS with 2.4 WAR. What's nice about him is the floor is high because the defense is so good and he can play all around the diamond. Obviously want a little bit more from him offensively as he develops here, but pretty confident that this is our long-term superstar right here. And Tyler Phillips, back-to-back Rookies of the Year when you've got the likes of Edwin Diaz and Mason Miller also eligible for this award. Just exceptional. I'm so glad that I was able to afford him $4.2 million. He deserves so much more, and he's probably going to get it next year, whether he's playing for us or somebody else. All the guys I brought in this offseason were difference makers, whether it was Colt Keith, Leo Rivas, Liam Hicks coming in at the deadline, and Brent Rooker. These guys just made our offense churn. 800 OPS or better for all of them. Keith, I think, is the most exciting. This was a career year for him with a 907 OPS. I was really projecting him for the mid-700s and got so much more than that. And we've got such a good starting rotation, which is going to be the key for us in this playoff run coming up here. Between Green, Bundy, Nielsen, White, and Snelling, everybody with ERAs under 4. How about the bounce back from Thomas White? Bundy and Nielsen are both guys that I traded arbitration-eligible players for, and you can see they were excellent and got a lot of innings between the two of them, and they were really here to do exactly that, fill in the innings and then kind of let our big three of Green, White, and Snelling do, the hard yards. And this is how I'm going to set up our playoff rotation. Green, Snelling, White, and then Matt Bundy as our fourth. White is tired, so he can't pitch game 2. That's why he's in the 3 as opposed to in Snelling's spot. Nielsen in that case will be in long relief, and then the bullpen, which was very solid throughout this year, is all ready to go. Phillips, McFadden, and Eknes are really our big 3 at the back end of this bullpen. Let's see if we can get past the Diamondbacks in the wild card series here. They had 88 wins last year. I think we're a little better team, and we definitely have a stronger rotation, in my opinion. Hunter Green versus Framber Valdez. In Game 1, we lose 7-6. Game 2 is a little tougher matchup going up against a healthy Corbin Burns. Robbie Snelling is on the hill, and we lose, and we're eliminated right away in the wild card. Very disappointing and very swift exit for the Marlins here as the Dodgers go on to defeat the Guardians, and I'm only able to bank an extra $5 million. We're going to have to make deeper runs than this in the upcoming years. So just like every season so far, I'll pull from where I can in the farm system to fill in our holes and then look for smart trades elsewhere and maybe a couple of free agents. But before I work through the rest of the offseason, there's one very important thing I need to do, and that is give a 10-year, $250 million contract to our superstar, Crew Robinson. There is no denying the talent here, and frankly, I'm seeing a little bit of shades of Miguel Cabrera, a former superstar who you would say had 99 potential just like Robinson, that the Marlins were not able to lock up years ago. That is not going to happen with our guy Crew. We are locking him up, and remember that $25 million per year does not count against my budget. If I wasn't able to get Crew in that second draft class, it probably would have been Sylvester Ritter who would have gotten that long-term extension. And speaking of Ritter, he is coming on the 40-man, and he's going to be joining us in the show next year. He can play first base, and we can move Crew Robinson either to third or in one of the corner outfield spots. The other guy who it could have been is Greg Payton, and unfortunately he's not going to be coming up this year because as good as he looks, he did not have a great year in AAA, so I'm going to let him continue to improve and have a good season, and we'll bring him up when he's ready. Wow. Paul Skeens is an angel for $47 million a year. And he has won the last 3 Cy Young Awards in a row. So, wow. Meanwhile, Brian Wu is headed to our division in the Braves. Not a guy I like facing. So gearing up for season 5 out of 10 here. Actually one of the quieter off seasons so far. Only a handful of moves. You obviously saw Sylvester Ritter coming up to play first base. Very excited to see what he can do. Rookie of the Year watch in Ritter. That means that Robinson is moving over to right field. I feel good about him defensively anywhere. That is just where it ended up being the best. And yes, he did accept his 10-year deal. I had to go to $26 million to make sure that I could get it over the line. And we'll take a look at the budget here in a minute, which looks a little bit different now than it did in years past. I signed one free agent, and it's Christian Koss. I needed a MLB-ready infield option here, and he honestly looks great. So he'll probably get some at-bats and be a defensive or speed substitute here. And that's kind of our lineup, honestly. It's I don't know. I really like it. I really like it. And obviously, Crew Robinson, our superstar, we'll see what he can do. For the rotation, everybody moved up one here now that I don't have Hunter Green. So we're going White, Snelling, Bundy, and Nielsen. And then JP Sears is just going to join us in the rotation here. He should be just fine. He had 85 innings last year to a 3 ERA. So he will be our 5th starter. I picked up a couple guys in the Rule 5 here. Bowden Francis should be a great long reliever. Scott Bluette, one of the more interesting reliever names out there, should be solid in the middle of the rotation or middle of the bullpen. Similar names here throughout. I was able to bring Tyler Phillips back, $5.9 million. I just couldn't let the back-to-back reliever of the year go. He's got to be on this team. So our budget is at $112 million. But you take Crew Robinson out and we're at $86 million. I didn't account for a couple of the renewable contracts, which pushed me to 86. Supposed to be capping at 85, but close enough. And I don't really want to release anybody. So yeah, we're a little bit off, but we're essentially right there. And look, I think the owners are going to be okay with it because I've got a feeling that this team is going to be really good. I'd say we're having a pretty good start to year 5. We are 18-3 after just winning 14 games in a row. Impressively, the Phillies are actually kind of close to us, but either way, this is a dream start to the season. Brent Rooker is absolutely on fire, but the real difference maker right now is our rookie, Sylvester Ritter. 6 home runs through the first 17 games with 18 RBI, 14 walks, and a 1.258 OPS. And on top of all of that, I found a very exciting prospect here, second baseman Chris Casado with some great power. And I just unearthed the #1 ranked pitcher in the class through Discovery, Ronald Guevara. Things are looking way up right now for the Fish. Well, we weren't going to stay that hot forever, but we are still in first place here, 54-35 at the beginning of July. Once again, we've got a top 5 pitching staff in the league. But the big difference this year is the fact that we have an offense to match. We are ranked 3rd in runs scored. This lineup is so deep. Almost every one of our starters has an 800 OPS or better. Even our worst hitters are at 790. And of course, Ritter has also cooled down from that crazy start, but we're seeing unbelievable development out of the young first baseman here. He's gone up 4 overall in half a season, and he has a 790 OPS. We will certainly take that. Impressively, our superstar, Crew Robinson, is developing even faster. He's gone up 5 overall in half a season, coming off of that huge contract extension, clearly very motivated. 26 home runs in 84 games, and last year he had 20 in 122 games. This guy's incredible. And to top it all off, a massive bounce back from Marcy and the catcher position as a whole, which were 2 blind spots for us last year. We have so much more power, so much more talent across this offense. It's taken a while to get to this point, but this is a really impressive team. The bullpen continues to be absolutely unbelievable. The starting rotation's actually not been quite as good, especially Thomas White. He's struggling this year with a 5.25 ERA. I'm going to make one small move and put Bowden Francis in the rotation. If we can get these 5 guys going, there is no stopping this team. And this draft class is all about the pitching talent. It is truly remarkable, the quality and quantity of good starting pitching that is available. It's all going to depend on what the teams in front of me decide to do, but there's only one position player that I would think about taking in the first round, and it's Chris Casado, the power hitting second baseman that I showed you before. But just look at the pitching options: the number 1 ranked player, the number 2 ranked player, the number 3 ranked player, the number 4 ranked player, the number 7 ranked player, 8. You get the idea. The ideal scenario would be if we could get Ronald Guevara in a later round because he was discovery, but I doubt it. So we're just going to have to see what happens. Jason Gordon might even be better than he is. And to be honest with you, Edmund Vaccaro might even be better than both of those guys. So it's going to be a tough decision. I just hope we can stack up at least 2 or 3 really, really good starters in this draft. The only one of those guys that didn't make it to our pick here is Edmund Vaccaro, who frankly might have been my choice. He was looking really, really good. So here's the thing. We pick again at number 31, and this is our 21st pick right now, and Chris Casado is still here. I am pretty confident that at least one of Guevara or Gordon or maybe Rosenberg or maybe multiple of those guys, maybe even Guillen, will fall to our next pick, and potentially even later with the Discovery guys, so I want to go with Chris Casado. I don't have a power hitter like this on the team just yet or in the farm system. He can also play third base. Chris Casado is going to be my first rounder for draft number 5. All right, let's sim ahead and hope that these guys are still on the board, and they are. I'm going to pray that Guevara, the number 1 player, and then Guillen, the number 7 player, will fall because they were Discovery, and I've got to decide between these non-Discovery guys. I've decided I want to go with the high school starter Sheldon Rosenberg. He doesn't have the same control, but he's got really high potential and a high overall for being only 18 years old. There's a chance this guy could have mid-90s potential and being 3 years younger. It's a tough call. I don't think I could go wrong either way, but I've decided on Rosenberg. Hopefully more guys continue to fall down the board here. I see Guevara. The fact that Guevara is still on the board makes me think that nobody else found him, and I kind of want to risk him continuing to fall here, and I'm tempted to go for another position player. Left fielder Del Veach has a great profile with excellent contact, solid defense and speed, and if I don't take him, I don't think I'm taking another position player in this class, so that is going to be my selection here. I'm really going to regret this if Ronald Guevara falls off the board. He is still there. And guess who else is still here? Starting pitcher Dave Welsh. I didn't expect to show this much of any draft class from here on out, but there's just so much talent here, it's too exciting. Welsh could be a first rounder in any other given draft, and we're about to get him with our 66th overall pick, our 4th pick of the class, and hopefully Guevara continues to fall here. We're going with Welsh. All right, Guevara, don't do it to me. He is still there. I'm not going to tease you or myself any longer. It's time to take the number 1 pitcher in the class, Ronald Guevara. Looking at the stats here, the hits per 9 versus right is not great, but the control is elite. So I think he'll be good. I think he'll be good, and that is going to be our 5th pick. I can't believe we got him here, and I'll show you the rest of the class in a couple weeks. 2030 All-Stars include Joe Jones, who has come up into the bullpen and has maxed out Ks per 9. The lefty here is really cool, and he's having an excellent year. 50 innings in, 1.98 ERA, 102 whip, just part of this elite Marlins bullpen here in year 5. Liam Hicks makes his return to the All-Star game. Kind of funny that he came back around to join the team after I traded him a couple years ago. Our guy, Crew Robinson, is making his first All-Star appearance in his sophomore season. I cannot wait to track this guy's career over the rest of this rebuild. That's coming off of a Rookie of the Year last year, and I'm expecting this list of awards to be pretty long by the end of this video. And I have to pat myself on the back here. The acquisition of Colt Keith was a huge move, and he is an all-star here at third base. So I've gone past the trade deadline here. I've already maxed out my budget and actually was $1 million over it, as you know. So didn't make any moves. Don't need to. We are 68-43, on track for another 90-win season and a division win. I love this team. Let's take a look at these draft picks because I think there's a chance this is the best draft class I've had in all of MLB The Show 26. So let's see how we did here. And okay, everything is in the green here, but nobody crazy high potential. I am excited about our first rounder, Chris Casado. The power is very exciting, and the rest of the profile is going to round out nicely. And because he's 63 overall, he should be able to join us here by year 8, 9, something like that. And I'll talk about my other position player real quick before the pitchers. Del Veach has 89 potential and has that contact profile. He will probably be on this team around year 9, I would say. But as I said going into it, this draft class was really all about the starting pitchers, and we rocked them. We rocked them. There is so much talent and potential that I got from this class. Sheldon Rosenberg, 64 overall with 90 potential and a very well-rounded profile. It's going to be an ace someday. Dave Welsh also looks solid here, 87 potential, nice profile. Should also be maybe not quite an ace, but a very good number 2. Ronald Guevara here is 72 overall with 91 potential. What an interesting build on this guy. We'll see what he can do. I mean, the control's going to max out at some point, and that might just carry him. And I also managed to snag another closer just to keep that churn with all of our bullpen arms. And I'll tell you what, for being 18 years old, Vinny Gibbs has got a lot of beard. That is impressive. This has been a great year so far. Let's simulate to the end of this season to get back in the playoffs because I am itching for a deep run. Taking on the Mets for the last series of the year, we win that series to finish with 98 wins. Just continuing to get better and better year after year. 93 wins last year and 98 wins in 2030. No league leaders this year, but we've got an award. Let's see what we did, and Sylvester Ritter does get that Rookie of the Year. Ritter with a 2.71 average and 26 home runs. He really added a lot of power this year. Power versus right and left both went up almost 10 in one season. This is an incredibly advanced hitter at a very young age. You know who else is an incredibly advanced hitter at a young age? Crew Robinson, who got MVP votes in his sophomore year. He finished 3rd in voting, and yes, he did get up to 91 overall. He went up 8 overall in one season. Just a spectacular year with a 932 OPS here, and he had 6.6 WAR. Incredible. Impressively, Mickey Moniak is actually the 2030 MVP, and yeah, I could see why. There's a lot of power in that profile. This offense is so good at this point. Besides the 2 young guys that I just talked about, Rooker, Hicks, Keith, Rivas, Tibbs, Marcy, really everybody was contributing. But as I talked about throughout the year, the starting rotation kind of struggled a little bit. Thankfully, I have an absolutely dominant bullpen to lean on. And yeah, all these guys were really good. Our 2 closers here were very good, Joe Jones and Jesse McFadden. So we got above 98 wins, which means I have another $5 million to play with next year. And thankfully, we also won the division, beating out the Nationals impressively. So we have got a chance at another deep playoff run to get this team a title and also to get me even more money to play with. But even though we won the division, we are a wild card team once again, and we've got to face the Phillies. And this team looks really good with Christopher Sanchez, Adley Rushman, Andrew Painter, and Justin Crawford have also developed quite a lot over the years now. So here is our rotation as we get into playoff run number 2, and I'm a little worried because even though these guys are great, they struggled during the regular season, and in fact, I'm putting Bowden Francis in as our 4th starter instead of Robbie Nielsen just because he had such a rough year. And by the way, legend of this rebuild, Tyler Phillips, has surpassed his ceiling and his potential and has gone up to 80 overall this year. He's, of course, going to be our closer. And here is the lineup, which was so good this year. I'm feeling very confident that we can at least get past the wild card. Frankly, I think this team can win the World Series. Let's find out. Game 1, Thomas White versus Christopher Sanchez. We win 4-3. Game 2, Robbie Snelling versus Andrew Painter. We win. And with that, we'll be taking on the Cubs in the NLDS. Another National League juggernaut here. They've got Joe Ryan in the rotation now, and Yordan Alvarez in the lineup, not even mentioning Bryce Terang. Honestly, this whole team looks completely different from what we know right now. And they get the advantage of being rested here as they're not going to face our top 2 pitchers until Game 3. Game 1 here is Matt Bundy versus Joe Ryan, which we lose 6-1. Rule 5 pickup, Bowden Francis getting a playoff start here against Nick Lodolo, and we bounce back for a win. And now we've got our top 2 going at home. Thomas White versus Cade Horton, we win 2-1. 6 innings of 1-run ball for Thomas White, and then hand it over to this bullpen. We're able to shut it down, no problem. So we can move on to the CS tonight. Robbie Snelling against Pablo Lopez, we lose 5-0. That means it is an elimination game in Chicago. Matt Bundy's back on the mound once again, facing Joe Ryan, and we lose, and we are eliminated. Frustrating to not get a little further here with how good this team is, but when you're going head-to-head against the Cubs, who have, maybe a $250 million budget versus our 100 and change now that we have that big contract with Crew Robinson, it's tough. It's tough, but we will get it done, and I'm hoping we will get multiple titles before year 10 is all said and done. And we did win a series, so that is another $2 million that I have to work with. So $7 million added to the budget this year means I've got $92 million now, which is quite a bit different from the 80 I had before. Your 2030 World Series champions are the Red Sox, who take down the Cubs. At this point, the Marlins are no strangers to balling on a budget. In fact, their 2003 championship team had the lowest payroll of any MLB team to win the World Series. Their highest paid player that year, Pudge Rodriguez behind the dish. He was paid $10 million that season. Except, he wasn't. He was actually paid $3 million that season, with the rest deferred over the next 3 seasons. Sound familiar? A big part of their success, though, was 2 young pitchers, Dontrelle Willis and Josh Beckett. Willis won Rookie of the Year that year, and he had a 14-6 record with a 3.30 ERA, while on a rookie minimum contract of $300,000. Josh Beckett, on the other hand, signed a pre-arbitration extension, the absolute key to small market teams locking down good players. So after last year with 98 wins, but then losing in the DS, I'm very highly motivated, and our fans definitely want a World Series title delivered to them as soon as possible. And sadly, we are going to have to say goodbye to our lockdown closer, 2-time delivery man of the year, Tyler Phillips, to free agency this year. I say that, I'll see if I can afford him, but most likely not, and I've got so many good closers that I've acquired and drafted that I probably need to lean on them, but what a run. What a run for Tyler Phillips. And we're also losing a big power bat here in Brent Rooker, so these guys will be missed. Some more trades this offseason. Jacob Marcy's headed out after holding down center field for a while, and coming back is a third base prospect with some power and defense. And a blockbuster. Robbie Snelling is headed out for a center field prospect, again with some nice defense and speed, and the bat should be pretty good as he gets closer to his max potential. Snelling gave us 3 pretty solid years, but was asking for $15 million in arbitration, and that is just something that we can't do. Especially considering the assembly line of good starting pitching talent on the way up here for the Marlins. The Angels really are surprise big spenders in this save pile as they add James Wood after getting Paul Skeens last offseason. $30 million per year, it's safe to say they are not exactly in the same market that we're working in. We'll continue to make most of our improvements internally as I'm going to be moving on from Leo Rivas this year and bringing up our prospect, Greg Payton. The profile is just too good. He's on the 40-man now and headed to the MLB. And we've got one other prospect on the way up here, center fielder Jason Harrington. I traded for Harrington like 3 years ago to replace Jacob Marcy, so a lot of the moves that I'm making are a long ways in advance, a lot of planning and thought going into it. And this shows that circle of life that I've been talking about. Now that Harrington is up into the MLB, I needed another young prospect in center field, which is why I traded for Asensio. And the Angels continue to go all in here. Looks like the Mets in our division are selling off as they just traded away Francisco Lindor. So I've cleared out a lot of payroll here, and I'm at $86 million. But you take out Crew Robinson's contract, and we're down to $60 million, and I have $92 million to play with. I want to go after our first big free agent target, catcher Drake Baldwin. The hitting stats are elite, and the defense is also above MLB average, and I think he would be a perfect addition, an everyday catcher for us. He racks up 6 WAR just about every single season, and he could be a difference maker. Alright, second try with Drake Baldwin. Can we land him? Yes, we can. Pretty exciting to go after a big free agent target and land him. The Marlins are going into a little bit of a different era, and I think the fans are going to be pretty juiced up about us making this deal. The number 4 free agent is headed to South Florida. That does not mean we're too good for the Rule 5 draft now, as I picked up Tanner Gordon to be a 5th starter for us. And here's a look at our rotation going into next season, as I'm really hoping for a bounce back from, honestly, all of these guys. And I'm going to bring up a rookie homegrown talent here in Jerry Flood, who has some good control, and he's up to 25 years old. We drafted him back in the very first draft class of the video, and I think it's time to give him a shot. And for our closer this year, it's going to be Jesse McFadden, replacing Tyler Phillips. He's got big shoes to fill. And here is our Season 6 lineup, which I feel very good about, especially with Baldwin and Robinson right in the thick of things. Not to mention the addition of Greg Payton, who's going to be in the leadoff spot thanks to his contact and discipline. He's going to be a lot of fun this year, definitely on Rookie of the Year watch as we go for 3 in a row. Don't let me forget about Sylvester Ritter coming back. This guy is a monster at the plate. And between Ava Arquette here and Jason Harrington in center field, we are very solid defensively up the middle. I was able to retain James Tibbs for one more season. He's turned into a very solid all-around player. He's going to be in the middle of our lineups. And then we've got Colt Keith coming back here, and this will be the last year as his contract expires after this season. What is Crew Robinson going to have in store here for year number 3? He went up 8 overall last year. Could he do it again and get to 99 overall this season? We've already seen a 932 OPS out of him with 6.6 WAR, and he hasn't even touched his ceiling yet. And let's throw another goal in here. The draft classes are just as important as ever, but we pick a lot later on. I'd like to find another 99 potential player at some point before the end of this video. 2031 Season 6, we are a week from the MLB draft here, and we're in first place, but we actually just got into first place. We had an unfortunate injury of James Tibbs early in the year, and this lineup really missed him. He is one of the best players at this point that we have just all around hitting wise, lefties and righties. And now that he came back, we went on a really nice streak here, and I think we won, let's see, what's our last 10? 8-2 in our last 10. And that's how we finally got into first place. Drake Baldwin has been an immediate success at the plate. 900 OPS. He has been excellent. Is he regressing super early into his career and I gave him a very long contract? Maybe. He's 29 years old with 6 years of service time, but this is something that we are going to have to really monitor as we go through the next 4 years, because this could become a liability and I may have to dump him at some point. I cannot have liabilities on the books. We're a long ways away from that day, but going down 2 overall and having a good year is not a good sign. Crew Robinson is just starting to heat up. He was kind of having a slow start this year, but our 2 young rookies, both Jason Harrington and Greg Payton, are playing well. So, I don't know, I'm pretty happy with things. We're getting much better years out of Nielsen, Bundy, Thomas White. You just kind of never know. It's really weird. It's really weird with Thomas here. And then Jerry Flood, the rookie, struggling a little bit, but improving, and I'm just going to be patient with them. The strength of this team that has emerged over the last few years is really the bullpen. There's so many good ERAs in here. It's just a matter of us getting a lead early, and then we can shut it down. Our closer, Jesse McFadden, has been exceptional. 23-2 in his save opportunities with a 1.47 ERA. Perfect. Going to be an interesting choice with our early round picks. We've got a discovery starter who looks excellent. Definitely want to get him at some point. He could be a 99 potential guy that I was asking for. We've got several other good starter options that I don't know if they're going to fall. Probably, well, maybe Ted Kroger would fall, and he looks really good too. So good starters, one great position player. And again, this could be my 99 potential guy. Hard to say, didn't finish his profile, but Chad Flaherty looks like a great outfielder, and if he's there with my first overall pick, I'm going to take him. I said first overall pick. I meant our first pick of the draft. Jim Rivers is here, 21-year-old starter that I like a lot. Good hits per nine, good control, good stamina, good clutch. Really nothing bad at all, and I can hopefully come back for Brian Freitas. We're risking it, but I'm going with Jim Rivers as our first rounder for draft number 6. Freitas and Kroger both still here for our second pick. I'm going to go with Kroger. We'll hope that Freitas keeps falling. I'm not going to mess around. We'll take Freitas here with our 37th pick. So that's 3 probably very good starters again in this draft. We've got so much pitching at this point. So for pick 65, I'm going to go with a closer this time, Steve Toth. Just keep stacking up closers, especially lefties, and we'll lean into our strengths as a team here, and I'll show you the rest of the picks here in a little bit. Kind of a surprise all-star here for me in year 6 with Robbie Nielsen, the lefty who I brought in a couple years ago just to get some innings in and be a solid 4 or 5 starter. See potential guy here, and he's got his first career all-star appearance. There you go, 2031. Not a surprise at all, Jesse McFadden is here. This guy's unbelievable. He's going into ARB next year, So he's might be expensive, but I really want to bring him back. That is 2 All-Star appearances here in the short career for closing pitcher Jesse McFadden. Nobody in our lineup is an All-Star, which is really hard to believe. There is so much talent in here that, yeah, it's like I said, it's hard to believe. They haven't had the best year, and that's why we're not absolutely dominating the division. We're actually down to second place now. We're going to be fine. We're still in first place, 60 and 51. It's going to take a bit for us to get to the 90 wins. We're actually going to have 2 really good final months of the year. Let's take a look at our year 6 draft picks here. A bunch more pitching talent coming in. Lots of B potential at the top here. 1 A potential right fielder in Billy Ratto. I was able to get a decent position player towards the end of things. And actually, I went back to my board and I hadn't scouted or noticed Lane Clarkson, a closer that I took towards the very end, 18 years old, 65 overall with 91 potential. So we did well towards the later rounds. Jim Rivers, 72 overall, 87 potential, my first rounder. This is like my favorite type of pitcher in this game. You know that by now. This guy will be in the majors not next year, probably the year after. And he's might be in our rotation for the final 3 to 4 years of the video, depending on, what pops up at that point. Here's Chad Flattery, who I wasn't able to land, and he looks like he's going to be a good hitter. I've got 1 million of this kind of profile. I love the speed. The power is really low, but yeah, I would have taken him 60 overall with 90 potential. Would have been a nice guy to have. Best player in this class, left fielder Solomon Bradford going to the Cardinals. I feel like they've had quite a few good picks at this point. Yeah, I just went to take a look. That's right. They got Chad Beal, the generational outfielder. The Cardinals might be on the come up towards the end of this video. There is a lot of young talent on this team. Third baseman Nelson Mitre. Looks like he can pick it pretty well over there at third base. 21 years old. They've got JJ Weatherholt. I don't know how much longer he's going to be elite, but at least for now, he looks really good. Should be in a good spot to make the playoffs. I really want this team to get better, though, to play a little better as we get towards the postseason. I'll see you there. And we did have a great finish to the season. 94 and 68, winning the division. We only lost 1 series in the month of September, and that was to the Cubs here, who were 88 and 74. So they are pretty good, but we took care of business in the last series of the year against the Braves, and we beat the 95-win Dodgers earlier in the month. I'm feeling pretty good. 6 years into the rebuild at this point, the Marlins are the best team in the National League East, and it's pretty much no debate, which I'm proud of that. Sadly, no Rookie of the Year. Greg Payton could not get us 3 in a row. He did improve a lot. Just look at this profile. I mean, he's basically Xavier Edwards 2.0 right here with higher potential. He did have a great season. 401 on base, that's why I had him in the leadoff spot. 874 OPS, only 2.8 WAR, which just makes no sense to me at all. We almost got another reliever of the year for Jesse McFadden, who I just love. Absolutely love this guy in the bullpen. I kind of mentioned the offense, though, took a bit of a step back this year. 13th in runs scored. Really just not that great, I have to say. We didn't have anybody get to 30 home runs, which is a big part of the offense stalling. Plus, James Tibbs was gone for 3 months, and I told you he's one of our best hitters at this point, and it'll probably be the last year that he's on the team. So, kind of a bummer, not to mention Crew Robinson, who did develop even better. I mean, absolute monster at this point. That being said, an 814 OPS is kind of disappointing for him, with just the level of hitter that he is. 4.5 WAR, I mean, the floor is so high with the defense, and that flexibility around the diamond is so key for me. So I'm not going to complain too much, but need him to get a little better than that. This is like MVP caliber player. Last couple things here. Robbie Nielsen and Matt Bundy were our best starters. Jerry Flood turned things around. Thomas White, 4.22 ERA. I just don't understand it. I really don't. He should be in like Cy Young discussions. He doesn't really have enough stamina to do it, but yeah, kind of disappointing. Let's see who we'll be facing here. It's gonna be the Cubs, the one team that did take a series from us. Not really changing too much in the lineup for the playoffs. Just one thing, I'm gonna have Christian Koss play short instead of Abe Arquette, just because Arquette struggled, and Koss should be able to hold it down. So we'll see how he does. Rotation is gonna be White, Bundy, Nielsen, and Tanner Gordon is going to get the last spot. He was good this year. 3.77 ERA. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I also forgot to highlight that Merle Gutierrez potential went up. Reliever that I think I might have drafted him. No, I probably traded for him. Yeah, I think I traded for him. His potential went up. He's going to be in the setup role. I'm nervous. I really want to get a title. Let's at least make it to the World Series. Starting this matchup against the Cubs, Thomas White versus Cade Horton, we win 4-2. Matt Bundy versus Christian Javier, we lose 5-2. Now we go to Chicago. Nielsen, who was great this year, going up against Joe Ryan, we win 11-6. Tanner Gordon versus Nick Lodolo to move to the championship series, we lose, and we're going to a Game 5. White and Horton, once again, 3, 2, 1, we win. Yes! Our reward, we get to face the Dodgers. If you're gonna win a title in real life and an MLB The Show franchise, at some point, you're gonna have to take down the Dodgers. They added Elly De La Cruz. He's out. He's out. Torn MCL. We're not gonna have to face him. We are gonna have to face Yamamoto and Shohei. Shohei's regressed quite a bit here. Still can absolutely murder a baseball. And can I see the pitching stats? Yeah, the pitching stats actually look really good. Really good. And look who found his way over to Los Angeles, Xavier Edwards. If this doesn't sum up everything about this series, I don't know what does. We had Xavier Edwards in his younger years when we could afford him. He goes to free agency. Where does he end up? The Dodgers. Let's see what we got. Bundy and Yamamoto in Game 1, we lose. Nielsen and Ohtani in Game 2, we win. We beat Ohtani, okay? Gordon and Robleski for Game 3, we lose. White versus Michael King in Game 4, we win. Series is all tied up. It is a 3-game set to determine whether or not we can get to our first World Series in this rebuild. Matt Bundy and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, we lost this matchup in Game 1. For Game 5, simulating in 3, 2, 1, we win 6-4. 2 chances to bring it home. Can we take down Ohtani in Game 6 and get it done right here, right now? We cannot. We're going to Game 7. Tanner Gordon and Justin Robleski. I like our chances. I think we got this. To go to the World Series, yes, we got it in a Game 7, and we'll be taking on the Yankees. And who have they added over the years? Well, only Ronald Acuna, Gunnar Henderson, William Contreras, and Bartolo Palacios. Whoa. Very interesting center fielder with some power, defense, little bit of a Pete Crow Armstrong type of player here. They also have Bo Bichette, Matt Olson, and Luis Ariz. This entire roster has seemingly turned over. You've got a veteran Max Fried here, who's probably still pretty good. One of my favorite pitchers in real life right there. Can history repeat itself? I've mentioned a couple times about the 2003 Marlins, and guess who they beat in that World Series? The Yankees. Here we go. Thomas White and Luis Hill for Game 1, we win. Matt Bundy versus Cam Schlittler for Game 2, we win. Robbie Nielsen versus Max Fried for Game 3, we win 3-0. We're gonna have to go to the Bronx to get this done, but we are on the cusp of not only winning this series, but sweeping the New York Yankees. And on the mound for New York is Michael Soroka, a very underrated pitcher in franchise. He's pretty good. Let's see what we can do. The top of our lineup is absolutely nuts. Greg Payton with a single, double play from Baldwin, and a pop out from Ritter. We've got Tanner Gordon on the mound. The top of this Yankees lineup is also absolutely disgusting, and they've already got 2 runners on, and a double brings home a run, a sac fly brings home another run. It's 2-0. Crew Robinson actually won a Gold Glove this year. I'm just now figuring this out. Can he turn himself into a playoff superstar? Got himself in a full count here in the top of the second with a runner on first and nobody out. He draws a walk. In his final year with the Marlins, can Colt Keith get us on the board here? Yes, he can. That is going to fall. Throw is coming home. That is that crazy center fielder with the good defense, but it's not in time. Oh, that is ripped into left field by Edgar Quintero, and that should tie the ball game. And we got a runner up to third. It's 2-2. Edgar Quintero rips one down the line. Beautiful swing. Thankfully, we do tie up the game. Now we need Tanner Gordon to navigate this lineup, this very tough Yankees lineup, as we get a walk here from Ritter. Tibbs coming up, back-to-back walks. Crew Robinson is at the plate, and he doubles to bring home 2. We are already into the Yankees bullpen as Tanner Gordon has another clean inning. He's coming out for the 5th inning, a couple of hits, a pop-out though, and a fielder's choice. Really solid outing from Gordon today. And Tibbs with a solo shot here in the top of the 6th. We are up 5-2. This offense is getting going. Kasparius has been on this roster for a while. He's got the 7th, and he's got 2 runners on, but gets out of it. Merle Gutierrez, whose potential went up to A this year, coming in for the 8th, and it's a 1-2-3 inning. Into the bottom of the 9th. Our absolute stud closer, Jesse McFadden, coming in. Unfortunately, he has struggled in the playoffs. He's blown 3 saves. Carlos Cortez is at the plate. The tall lefty, Jesse McFadden, delivers a 2-2 pitch. That's on the inside corner, called a ball. So the count goes full. Here's the 3-2, strike 3. We're gonna get a challenge, and I think that's low. It's on its way, and that caught a piece for out number 1. Bo Bichette at the plate. We're 2 outs away. Jesse McFadden delivers a pitch. He got him to chase the high heater. That is 2 down. It all comes down to that center fielder, Bartolo Palacios. We are on the cusp. The Marlins are 1 strike away. Will history repeat itself? McFadden delivers. He got him. Strike 3. The Marlins win the World Series. Almost 30 years after their first improbable victory over the Yankees, they've done it again. 2031 World Champions, the Miami Marlins. There we go. We finally got it done. Our first trip to the World Series, and we managed to get it done. Let's see who the MVP was. It was Crew Robinson. I mean, the script writers are just cooking right now. It took us 6 seasons to get to this point. 6 really intense seasons of rebuilding. Now, the question is, how many can we win? And also, how big can I get our budget in this video? We just added another $10 million this season by getting 90 wins, winning 2 playoff series, and then winning the World Series. So I've now got $102 million to play with, not including Crew Robinson's contract. We've obviously got Drake Baldwin on here. I really want to try and lock down some guys, but I can't do any more long-term deals. That's against the rules. But I really want to have Greg Payton, or I can't do any long-term extensions like I did for Crew Robinson, I should say. But I really want Greg Payton and Sylvester Ritter and actually center fielder Jason Harrington. I really want these guys to be here for the next 4 years. And I'm going to need to make some more money to do that. This offseason, we say goodbye to James Tibbs and Thomas White, who were both big parts of not only our World Series team, but a lot of good teams over the last several years. And we say hello to Luke Keschel to join us in the infield. We also say hello to one of our first power hitting prospects to come up, not a homegrown talent here, but Ramon Rodriguez might be able to solve our home run issue from last season. So he'll be joining this great core of players that we've gotten over the years. For the first time, though, our best young players coming up are actually in the rotation. We've got A potential Rob Correa coming in here, who goes back to the first round of 2027. And then B potential Matthew Winters will be our 5th starter here, and we'll see if he's okay against righties. He's only got 60 hits per 9, but interested to see what he can do. And once again, we have an absolutely monster bullpen, especially with the addition of Nick Sosha, who, to be honest with you, I've been manipulating this guy's service time. He's going to be insane. I don't even need all the money, apparently, that I've managed to get myself up to this point. I would have kept Thomas White, but he just hasn't performed up to the level of a $20 million pitcher at this point. So we're at $105 million, which if you take out Crew Robinson's contract, we're actually only at $79 million. I'm going to start to move through these seasons a little faster now. Can we get to 100 wins? Can we win 2 or 3 World Series? Let's find out. Oh, one more thing. Can our superstar Crew Robinson get himself an MVP? He almost definitely will reach 99 overall this year. We'll see what he can do. And about halfway through Season 7 here, we are in first place. Not quite as dominant as we've been in the past, but 7 games above 500, in pretty good shape. Our more experienced young starters are pitching well, but our 2 rookies are struggling a little bit. Correa's doing okay, but Matthew Winters is really struggling with about a 7 ERA right now. I am going to trust him to bounce back this season. We've got a bunch of talent in AAA, but nobody that's really better than him right this second. Meanwhile, the offense is being carried by our 4 young core pieces. I should say 5 if I include Drake Baldwin, who we obviously got in free agency, but between Ritter, Peyton, Crew Robinson, and Jason Harrington, it's the usual suspects. And Crew is up to 98 overall, so we're getting a good look at what this final profile is going to be. He's getting on base really nicely this year, but the slugging hasn't quite returned ever since his sophomore season. Our young slugger Ramon Rodriguez isn't having any issues though. He's got 24 home runs already, and you can see this power is going to get maxed out someday as he gets closer to A potential. Nothing too special in the draft this year, and since we won the World Series last season, we have the last pick of the first round, and I'm going to use it on a 22-year-old catcher whose profile I really like. The defense and contact is great, and we need another catcher in the farm system, and we'll see the rest of our picks here a little later on. Here in 2032, former Marlin Yuri Perez is an all-star. Good to see that for him. Checking in on how he's done so far since we traded him, not that great. He had 1 good year with Kansas City, 2 kind of rough years, and now with San Francisco, he seems to have found his footing. Our closer, Jesse McFadden, is an all-star once again, and this year he is making $5.4 million in ARB1, so I don't know how long I can keep him, but man, he has been awesome. Both Crew Robinson and Sylvester Ritter are all-stars, which is to be expected. And Ritter's almost gotten himself up to 90 overall this year. I've been training his power. Coming out of the All-Star break, we went through a really tough stretch. We lost a lot of games, including getting swept by Colorado, losing a series to Washington and Atlanta, and now we're only 1 game above 500. And taking a look at our draft picks for year 7 here in the first round, we got some more potential at 92 for Bruno Rosario, exactly what I was hoping for when I drafted this catcher. Some good pitchers, some decent position players, and then this reliever Wendell Dunning, who I drafted only because of his mustache. And there was yet another generational talent in this draft pool, shortstop Vernon Tejera, who is going to the Blue Jays. We're in jeopardy of not making the postseason here, but as we simulate our way through August, we're taking a lot of wins, and we're back in first place. The core of our lineup got hot here, and Crew Robinson has made it up to 99 overall. He has improved his slugging as the year has gone on, but I really want to see that number in the 500s. And ultimately, I did decide to send Matthew Winters back down to AAA, and I brought up Brett Pride only because of this control, and he's in a long relief role, filling in pretty nicely. And ultimately, we would continue our success through the end of this season, finishing 94 and 68. I think we've done this a few times throughout this rebuild where the second half of the year, August and September, we really put things together. And with another 90-win season, that's another $5 million to the budget. We do have league leaders and awards here. Let's start with the league leaders, and it's starting pitcher Matt Bundy with a lot of awards. And we also had Crew Robinson leading the league in walks. Okay. I'm really just impressed with Matt Bundy here, who finally seemed to put it all together this season. 200 innings and a 3.5 ERA. I do say that he put it together. He's actually been pretty good throughout his 4 years on the team, and this might have been his last. How about awards here? What did we get? We've got another Rookie of the Year for Ramon Rodriguez. And coming in third place is rookie starter Rob Correa, who ended up developing really well this year. He had a true breakout season. 178 innings with a 3.29 ERA. Because of that great year and the development from Rob Correa, our rookie, he's going to be our ace for the playoffs, followed by Bundy, Flood, and Gordon. Our rotation is okay. I don't love it. It's okay. Nielsen and Winters in long relief. I don't really love that either. They both struggled this year, but it's my best options. Good news is the bullpen mostly was really solid this year. I'm surprised that Nicholas Socha had about a 5 ERA. This is the guy that I really had highlighted going into the season, but he's going to bounce back and be a monster at some point in this rebuild here. No real changes to the lineup, though, except for Ramon Rodriguez has moved up in the order throughout this season. He finished with 36 home runs, our Rookie of the Year, so I want him in the 4 spot. I was worried about the contact and discipline going into this season, but he ended up playing great. So he's right there in the 4, protecting Crew Robinson, very important job. And our NLDS matchup is going to be the Brewers. Rob Correa versus David Festa for Game 1, we lose. Matt Bundy and Schultz for game 2, we lose. We're on the verge of getting swept here. I don't want to have an early exit as Jerry Flood comes in. We win 6-0. Tanner Gordon, who's back in the rotation, filling in for our rookies that struggled. He's taking on Conley Early, coming over. Here we go. Game 4, we win. Headed to a game 5 for the reverse sweep, and we win. And right away, we take on another NL Central team here in the Cubs. Matt Bundy versus Joe Ryan, we win. Jerry Flood and Corbin Burns, we win. Gordon and Lodolo, we lose. Interesting matchup today between Rob Correa and Parker Messick, we lose. Bundy and Ryan once again for game 5, we lose. I got a bad feeling about this one. Jerry Flood versus Corbin Burns, we win 14-3. I don't know where that feeling came from. Well, here we go. Win this game, and we go back to the World Series. Game 7, Marlins, Cubs, and we lose, and we are eliminated. We are not able to get the back-to-back as the Astros defeat the Cubs here in 2032. However, I did get another $2 million to play with going into next year for winning that series against the Brewers. So that is really important. It brings my budget up to $109 million, not including Crew Robinson. And the reason that is so important is this fantastic young core is becoming ARB eligible. And I've said it before that this time, a little bit different than our earlier years, I really want to keep this core together the best that I can. We need to keep winning as much as possible, keep growing this budget to the maximum that I can get it to in order to keep our really good core that our fans know and love. Our superstar Crew Robinson is made better by the fact that the players around him are also budding superstars in their own right. One big trade here this offseason, and it's Robbie Nielsen and Ava Arquette both headed out, along with a young pitcher prospect, top 100 prospect. I really liked this starter that the Rangers had down the road. If we need him, we'll work on the clutch a little bit. And then I really liked this relief pitcher, Ray Cabrera, that they have, who's going to be on our roster next season. And as far as trading away Arquette, I was okay with that because it's time to get David Ramirez into the show. It's about time for him to get up here because he goes back to our very first draft. He was our 5th rounder, and he's ready for the show. He's a shortstop as his primary position, but he can play all over the field, so we'll see where he ends up landing. And at this point in the video, a lot of the best players in the league are young prospects that we know now in real life, like Leo DeVry, who just got traded to the Royals, and he looks like a great shortstop. And there's some interesting names in free agency, like Walker Jenkins and Max Clark. Robbie Snelling is also here. And there's this guy, Andreas Alvarado, a CPU-generated player, who looks pretty cool. And a couple other former Marlins here. James Tibbs, who is a key piece of many of our lineups, and Kyle Stowers, who I think I maybe only had him for 1 year, honestly. I had him for 2. Okay, 2 years, 1 good year. For us, all I was really worried about was just keeping the band together here. So the rotation is about the same as last year. We're going to give Matthew Winters another shot. He struggled quite a bit, but we'll see. The leash is short. Rob Correa will be our ace. Tanner Gordon is coming back here. He's been with us the past few years just because of that control. He's been a long reliever, been in the rotation. Right now I've got Brett Pride in the long relief role, but everything is flexible. Our bullpen is absolutely disgusting. I've got like all these closers coming up at the same time. I kept Jesse McFadden, really want to keep him through the end of this thing. And the lineup is the exact same as last year, with the exception of a new shortstop here in David Ramirez. So we'll see what he can do. I like the tools. I don't know if he's ready to hit Major League pitching, but everybody else in this lineup is an absolute stud. Crew Robinson, of course, is the centerpiece of all of it. And once again, Crew Robinson will be on MVP watch. Can he get one before the end of this rebuild? And on opening day, we start off season number 8 strong with a dominant victory over the Athletics. And Crew Robinson hit 3 home runs in this game. Maybe this is the year. I forgot to mention that our budget is at 121. You take out Crew Robinson's, and that puts us to 95, which is more than 10 million below what I can spend. However, I did not want to get more contracts like Drake Baldwin's on the books here because I've got to prepare to lock down our other young talent. Halfway point of season 8 here, 2033, and we're finally seeing what this team is capable of. 57 and 32. 13 games ahead of the next closest team in our division. What's crazy to me is we're still not a top 5 offense. We're barely even a top 10 offense. I don't understand that. The thing is that our pitching staff is so good. We have a sub 3 ERA as a team. We are by far the best at pitching. And I showed you the bullpen going into the year. It is unbelievable between Rodriguez, Gutierrez, Cabrera, Jesse McFadden. All these guys have ERAs 2 or better. That is exciting. But I think the most exciting thing is that Crew Robinson is finally doing it. He is dotting it this year, 1.027 OPS, and that is coming off of a cold streak right now, which is unfortunate. He was on an absolute tear, 24 home runs and 79 RBI halfway through the season. Right now, he is in second place for the MVP behind Elly De La Cruz. There's a chance. In the Year 8 draft class here, there is a two-way player, Billy Rutherford. Unfortunately, I don't think I'm going to be able to get him, even though I'd really like to. And also, unfortunately, you still can't see the hitting stats. I don't know how the hell they have not fixed this yet. This is legitimately embarrassing. He actually made it a little farther than I expected, getting picked 23rd right on his ranking. That means he doesn't fall to us. I do have 2 first-round picks this year, thanks to our Rookie of the Year, and my first one is going to be catcher Domingo Guzman, who seems to have great contact. He's not going to throw anybody out, but he has good defense, and I can't complain with a good first-round catcher. We're still looking for another 99 potential player. Remember that was one of my goals, and Rafael Da Silva might be him. He is 22, and I don't necessarily love the control at all, but I don't care. I want another 99 potential guy, and this is my best bet. He's going to be my other first rounder, and I'll show you the rest of the picks here when we can view our draft picks. 2 of the 5 starters in the All-Star game are Marlins. Matthew Winters and our ace, Rob Correa, are both voted in. Jesse McFadden, our legendary closer, is also here again, and just look at the stats at this point. Everything is green. Unbelievable player. I probably don't need to tell you that Crew Robinson is an all-star, but he is, and so is Sylvester Ritter, who, by the way, is up to 93 overall. I decided not to make any moves here. We have 71 wins already as we get into August now. Let's take a look at our draft picks here. I think we might have found a 99 potential player. There is a good chance that we got it, and there we go. Rafael Da Silva, mission accomplished. You do enough drafts, you just start to kind of get that feeling when you might find one, and yeah, there we go. Unfortunately, I don't really like his profile at all. I do, however, really like the profile for our first rounder, catcher Domingo Guzman. I want to train up his arm strength. Sadly, we probably won't see him in this video, but he's awesome. And here is the two-way player, Billy Rutherford. He actually only had 84 potential, which is kind of a bummer. And again, you can't see his hitting attributes, so who the hell knows, but he looks a little bit disappointing at the end of the day. Let's sim to the end of Season 8 here and get back to the playoffs. 100 wins. For the first time, we've gotten to triple digits. We've already won a World Series, just the one so far, but I can officially say at this point that we are the best team in the league. We are ranked number 1, and we had the most wins in the regular season. You gotta watch out for a couple teams in here, especially the Mariners, the Angels, and also the Cubs. The Rockies actually won the National League West, and the Dodgers only had 84 wins this year, but they do make the postseason. Once again, we've got league leaders and awards. I'm very excited for awards here, but let's start with the league leaders, and Matt Bundy again with ERA, or did he get that before? I can't remember. Maybe that's the first time we've gotten the ERA crown, and Jerry Flood gets the most wins. All right, let's see the awards here. What did we get? Delivery Man of the Year for Jesse McFadden, and that is it. No MVP here. Looks like Yordan went crazy once again. That's at least 3 in a row. It's actually his 5th MVP during these 8 years so far that I've simulated. And there you go, reliever of the year for McFadden, who had 42 saves, a 2.22 ERA, and 71 strikeouts. Ray Shell definitely gave him a run for his money here, and this guy looks pretty good as well. And here is Crew, who was 3rd for the Hank Aaron Award. Now, 41 home runs, 300 average, 122 RBI. Let's take a look at the WAR total. I'm very curious to see how much he put up. 8.5. 8.5. Didn't get to the 10 mark. But this is a great year for our superstar with a 973 OPS, his best season to date. And we are going to get the Dodgers here as our first round matchup in the playoffs. We had a great regular season, but you have to play the games in October. We've got the Dodgers, Correa and Ohtani for game 1, we win. Game 2 is Flood and Mizorowski. They have the Miz over there now, which we win. Looking for a sweep here. Bundy versus Yamamoto, can't get it. Winters versus Luzardo, my God, that rotation is nasty for the Dodgers. Here we go, game 4, we lose. It goes to a game 5, Correa versus the Miz, and we win. And we'll be taking on the Cubs again. I could be mistaken. I'm pretty sure the Cubs knocked us out last year, and they have Nick Kurtz on the roster, and this roster has given us a little bit of trouble here. They have a very nice rotation with Christopher Sanchez, Joe Ryan, Messick, Liberator. Really, these top 2 are the dogs, a couple veterans right there. Overall, we're still a better team, but this is going to be a tough series. I hope we can get a bounce back here. Game 1, Flood and Sanchez, we win. Bundy and Ryan, we win 13-3. Winters versus Messick, we win 7-2. Looking for a sweep with our ace on the mound, Rob Correa versus Liberator, and there we go. We got a sweep. We are on the cusp of another World Series title here, and it's going to be against the Angels. And remember, they signed Paul Skeens several years ago, so that is their ace. He's been on the team for 4 seasons. Actually, not that great the last 2. They have got a stacked lineup as well, which is kind of scary. Check out this third baseman, Adolfo Bautista, who has B potential, but is up to 91 overall. He must have had an incredible year. And yeah, he did. 903 OPS. It's a pretty good team right here. Let's see if we can take him down. Jerry Flood versus Paul Skeens. We win 2-1. He outduels Skeens. Game 2, Bundy versus Horton. We lose. Headed to LA. Winters and Miller. We lose. Correa and Dana. We lose. Okay, well, Jerry Flood's going to have to outduel Paul Skeens again, and he cannot. We are defeated by the Angels. I really hope we can get another title. We have the team to do it. We have more and more young talent coming up, and with winning 2 series here and another 90-plus win season, I've got another $9 million to play with. So I've got my budget up to $118 million now, and I'm going to need every little bit in this offseason because we've already got $47 million out the door, and our Arbin renewable estimates are at $136 million. This is going to be tough. My priority, of course, is to keep Ritter, McFadden, and Payton, but a lot of guys are up for ARB, including Jerry Flood, who was so good last year, Jason Harrington out in center field. I really like this guy. This is going to be a challenge. We are having to say goodbye to Jesse McFadden. The best closer in the league was asking for $15 million in arbitration in his final year of team control, and I just couldn't do it. This is the tough decisions that I have to make. I just couldn't do it. I need to keep our offensive core together, and he was asking for too much. I was pretty emotionally attached to him, but here's the positive news. A new Jesse McFadden is probably going to emerge from the trillions of closers that I have at this point. My favorite to do that is Nick Soshea. He hasn't done it yet, but this is probably going to be my closer next year. This year's number 1 free agent was Kevin McGonigal. He is headed to the Mariners. And here is our lineup with our big 3, Payton, Ritter, and Robinson at the top. Baldwin in his final season. A few guys you've gotten to know over the years. Damon Warner is a rookie coming up to play third base. Looks really good. And here is our rotation, which has a lot of new names. So many guys had to come up this year, but I kept Correa and Flood. They'll be 1-2. Flood is in arbitration. I couldn't let him go, though. He looks too good with room to grow, so he's coming back here. Rivers, who I drafted only a few years ago, is coming up. He looks great. He'll be in the 3. Villalobos, another rookie here. You probably don't know a lot of these guys. I maybe haven't shown them to you just yet because we've had so many of them. You know Matthew Winters, who's coming back here. And then I've got 2 long relievers because I have so many starters ready for the show. So Guevara and Pride in long relief. Bullpen's a little different without McFadden in it. I actually went with Eduardo Rodriguez as our closer going into this year because he was unbelievable last season. Really, any one of these guys I think could be a good closer. So let's go into year 9 here. And like I said, 1 goal. World Series title. Okay, I lied. 2 goals. MVP for Crew Robinson is still on the list. That hasn't been checked off yet. Can he get it done? Lost some audio here, so jumping in with a voiceover. I went with Kyle Stowers' younger brother, Ryan, in the first round of the draft class here, and he ended up looking really good. 62 overall with 93 potential, as the team is once again phenomenal. 59-38 at this point. We're the best team in the league, so it's kind of to be expected, but for the first time, we are the highest scoring team. We're first in runs, and a big part of that is that Greg Payton is matching Crew Robinson as our full core continues to play well, but Payton is having a breakout this year. Finally, I've been waiting on that. Crew Robinson, interestingly, is slugging a lot more this year. A 612 slug, which I've been asking for, and that means that right now, he is in first place for the MVP that we are wanting so badly to add to an awards page that is already pretty loaded up at this point. What a player. We end up finishing the season with 105 wins, a new high watermark. And looking at the awards here, Crew got it done. MVP for our superstar. 48 home runs, 141 RBI, and a 306 average. Meanwhile, Payton came in second for the batting title, and these are our 1-2, our big hitters. I forgot to mention that Drake Baldwin, in his final year of the deal here, has regressed very heavily down to 80 overall, but the good news is his payroll is going to be cleared up off our books next season, which might have some implications that we'll talk about later. But anyway, this is the best lineup and the best overall team that we've had throughout this entire rebuild, which is kind of crazy to say. I really don't see anybody stopping us in the postseason, although we're facing the Cubs again, who've become maybe our biggest rival. Game 1 is Rob Correa versus Gray Rod here, which we win 3-0. Did Correa shut them completely down? Yes, he did. 8 clean innings from our ace. Wow. Game 2 is Jerry Flood versus Gage Jump, which we win 6-5. And now Rivers versus Jackson Jobe, we win for a sweep. Our NLCS matchup is going to be the Pirates. And they have a generational talent of their own. You know who he is. Connor Griffin is going to be going head-to-head against our gen talent, Crew Robinson. We've got the breakout star this year, Ronald Guevara, on the mound for Game 1 here, which we win 7-1. Correa and Christopher Sanchez for Game 2, which we win 8-6. Jerry Flood back for Game 3 against Spencer Arrighetti, which we win 12-6. And Jim Rivers versus Logan Webb for Game 4, and we sweep them again. This team is unbelievable. It's going to come down to the Orioles or the White Sox here, and we're facing the White Sox. One thing I've noticed about franchise mode this year is the White Sox seem to always get really good, right around 2029, 2030, and they tend to win some World Series titles, which I didn't really see that happening last year. They have Murakami as their best player. He's starting to regress, but pretty exciting guy there as well. And then they have center fielder Roberto Asuncion. I feel like I recognize him, although maybe not. Either way, they are full of young, talented players, including this A potential starter, Fernando Fernandez. I feel like I also recognize him, and he looks unbelievable, and he is. And that's who's on the mound today for Game 1, as Guevara comes back around for us. He went 8 really solid innings in his first start. Here's Game 1, which we win 3-0. Game 2, back to Correa versus Birdsong. We win 10-0. We haven't lost yet. Jerry Flood versus Winston Santos. We win again. This is for a chance to go, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. We could go 11-0 in the playoffs with a win today. Jim Rivers versus Fernando Fernandez, and we just won our second World Series title, completely flawless. Everything is right with the world, as it should be. I didn't get screwed like I always seem to do. The best team in the league wins the World Series. This is one of the best teams of all time. And that might be the greatest playoff run of all time, as our MVP is Sylvester Ritter for the World Series, and playoff MVP is Crew Robinson. I mentioned before, going into our very final year, that we are losing Drake Baldwin, but that's okay. As a good financial analyst does, I have been planning for this all along. I now have a budget of $128 million and 0 commitments other than Crew Robinson, but I think in the final year here, it's time to make a few more. 5 years, $28 million for Sylvester Ritter. 5 years, $27 million for Greg Payton. And our ace, Rob Correa, 4 years at 26. I'll definitely be losing some other key pieces along the way here, but the most important thing for me was to lock down that core, keep our success going, and make sure Marlins fans are happy and have a good team for several more years to come. Our legend, our guy, Jesse McFadden, just got a 3-year deal with the Blue Jays for $20 million per year. I was tempted by the devil to bring him back and go over our budget, but I'm sticking to it. I miss him. Okay, by my count, I am about $4 million over budget this year, but I countered to the owners by saying, how many years was I under budget in previous years? This is the first time I am over, and it's $4 million, and we won 105 games last year. We've got too many superstars that I had to lock up between Ritter, Payton, Robinson, and Correa. These are our cornerstones, our pillars. And actually, Crew is now the third highest paid player on the team, and Ritter just barely got that little bit more than Payton. And they are, of course, the top 3 in our lineup, as usual, with the power hitter Ramon Rodriguez coming back here. He's a little hit or miss, but fun profile. We need that pop. Not a whole lot else really to say. David Ramirez has turned into a nice shortstop over the last couple of years. He also goes back to those same draft classes that we got Payton, Ritter, and Robinson in. And then we've got a new center fielder, Brian Spabori, who looks fantastic. Correa also got that long-term deal. He is our ace, of course, followed by breakout player from last year. Ronald Guevara is going to be our number 2. Rivers, who was fantastic. Hoping for a bounce back from Villalobos this year. The profile looks really good. And then we've got a rookie, Pat Phillips, coming in. 84 overall with 8 potential. There's so much talent here. So this, of course, is our final year. We've gotten 2 World Series titles. I would not complain with a third, and I also would like to win 110 games. 105 was really great last year. Can we get to 110? Firing on all cylinders. This team put up 113 wins. We managed to lead the league in runs by almost 100, with Robinson, Ritter, and Payton all having more than 100 runs themselves. We led the league in hits, doubles, home runs. But we don't just have power, we also led the league in walks. We were even the best fielding team, having the least amount of errors and the highest fielding percentage. And to top it all off, we were by far the best pitching staff, first in ERA. And it seems like Crew Robinson saved his best for last, but wait a second, Rob Correa wins a Cy Young. And there you go, Crew Robinson with a Hank Aaron Award and back-to-back MVP seasons. As I was saying, he saved his best for last. 332 average, 52 home runs, and 166 RBI. That is unbelievable. Is it possible for somebody with 99 potential to push past their ceiling? Because I think his actual effective overall is something like 103 or 104 at this point. He one-dotted it again with 10.8 WAR. Hands down, with back-to-back MVPs, you're looking at the best player in the league at this point, Crew Robinson. And how about that? We get our first Cy Young, and it's none other than our ace who just got that long-term deal, Rob Correa. 206 innings, 2.49 ERA. And right behind him, Yoel Villalobos actually came in second, and he didn't have a great rookie year, but his second year was exceptional. Robinson and Rodriguez were our best hitters. Ritter was third, kind of a down year for Payton with an 861, which is funny to say, but a new guy is emerging here who would be part of the core if this kept going. Our shortstop, David Ramirez, went up 6 overall this year, and he's getting into his prime right now. He's a great player. Can we finish this rebuild with one more World Series, which would be our third in 10 years? We start by taking on a good Pirates team here. Rob Correa for Game 1, we win 4-0. Rivers for Game 2, we win 3-1. Villalobos versus Cade Anderson, and we sweep them. That now makes it 14 consecutive playoff games that this team has won going back to last year. Can we keep it going against the Cardinals? Guevara versus Jerry Flood, former Marlin, and we take him down. Correa versus Harper, another win. Rivers versus Doyle, another win. Villalobos versus Brian Bayo, another sweep. That is 18 consecutive playoff games won. And for the World Series this year, we are taking on the Twins. You can imagine the league looks very different at this point. There are not many names here on the Twins that we know. They do have Brett Pride, another former Marlin, and I haven't even mentioned this throughout the video. I've had so many good players that I keep having to give them up to other teams that we end up facing. No matter who's on their roster, though, it does not compare to us. Guevara for Game 1, we win. Correa for Game 2, and we take our first loss in 19 games. Jim Rivers for Game 3, we win. Villalobos for Game 4, we lose. The Twins are putting up a little bit of a fight. Guevara for Game 5, we lose. Our backs are against the wall. We've got our ace and Cy Young winner, Rob Correa, for Game 6, which we win. World Series comes down to one final Game 7. How poetic. Jim Rivers versus Brett Pride. Head to head. Here we go, and we win, taking another World Series title. And our World Series MVP is shortstop David Ramirez. Playoff MVP is Greg Payton. Over these 10 years, I managed to turn the Marlins into not just playoff contenders, not just World Series champions, but maybe one of, if not the greatest dynasties and rosters of all time. And this was all with a pretty heavy budget restriction, but as you can see, there is a world where small market teams compete. You just have to have an overwhelming amount of young talent on your roster at the same time. It is realistic for the Marlins to find a Crew Robinson or a Rob Correa. They've already found great pitchers like Rob Correa. Greg Payton, Ritter, it's realistic for them to find any one or maybe two of these guys, but to have this much young talent, homegrown for the most part, on the team at the same time, that's really difficult to do. Point being that it is a real challenge for small market teams to compete, but there is a pathway. You have to never get married to too many players besides a handful of superstars if you can manage to afford them. And as a fan of one of the smallest market teams, the Tampa Bay Rays, you start to become used to this type of mechanic, and honestly, it might be part of why I do franchise rebuilds to this day. It is fascinating to me to watch the wide range of teams and how they have to operate in order to be successful, from the Dodgers, who do seemingly everything well, down to the Rays and the Marlins, who have to find ways to win on the margins. That's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Take care and peace.